want our nation back like it.
Eastern.
Hello everyone and welcome to another day of MAGA Cope. How is everyone doing? I hope you're having a wonderful week so far. How is it going, everyone? I'm a witch today. I have an appropriate mug and everything. Look at that. Professional. How's it going? Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day. So yeah, we're just doing MAGA Cope today, this time with a look more specifically at the Qanon community. Some stuff might be on the fringes, some might be Q adjacent, but it's MAGA Cope looking more primarily not at the Ben Shapiros of the world, but more the fringe conspiracy theorist right-wingers. So, should be fun, should be full of some tinfoil, some delusions. It'll be interesting, it'll be fun. We are almost done with costume month. I think we have 1 day left on costume month, maybe 2. So if you want to get another costume month at some point, make sure you use the tip link using the tip command, !tip, and that'll go towards costume month. Other than that, I think that's the only housekeeping I had. I think we can just get into it. Wonder if Doyle's gonna put out a Cope vid? I hope so. Whatever I have planned any day, the day he puts that out, it's gonna get moved, and it's gonna be Doyle Cope Day. It's gonna be beautiful. Bumble Homestead says, listening and sewing literally 24 buttons on my reproduction Edwardian skirt. Very nice. Hope it looks cute when it's done. So, let's get into it, shall we? Before anyone asks, I've not heard from Peter, and I don't want to poke him about this, because it feels like it would be rude. It feels like it would be rude for me to be like, hey, Peter, what do you think about this? Because I find it entertaining. That feels rude. He's not a zoo exhibit. He's a human being, so I'm not going to do that. If he chooses to talk to me, great, but I would feel weird. I thought about it. Terradona, thanks for gifting a sub. Much appreciated.
Somewhere around there. So we got about another hour and 10 minutes, 20 minutes, somewhere like that. And like I said, I will go live again later this week. So, all right. So Trump gets convicted of 34 felony charges. We have to start at the beginning. We can't just say, oh, well, they prosecuted Trump, and now he's a convicted felon. It's not that simple at all.
I think it kinda is. There's nuance in every issue, of course, but I feel like that's a pretty good, if you were to summarize the overarching plot of this saga in the Trump story, that's pretty good. Just saying, it covers it, more or less.
Okay, so we have to really...
Thanks, the Strangler.
...get in our mind that it's not just simply an accusation, an indictment, a trial, and then a conviction.
It was pretty close to what happened. Sounds, again, you're streamlining it. Process.
It's not that easy. Okay? You have to remember certain things, and I'm going to talk about those certain things now, and then we're going to expand on it as we go. Election fraud was committed in November of 2020.
I was gonna say, election fraud, fun fact, is one of the potential crimes that the jurors were allowed to consider in terms of this conviction, because the 34 counts he was found guilty on are dependent on attempts to commit a different crime, one of which was election interference. So that's fun.
Go all the way back to the very beginning. Now, prior to November of 2020, if you remember, Donald Trump signed numerous EOs, which are executive orders. An executive order is something that the President of the United States puts into place, and it basically bypasses the other branches of government. It bypasses Congress, doesn't have to go through the House, doesn't have to go through the Senate, doesn't have to be signed into law. It's just the president's way of saying, hey, I have ultimate control of this country.
No, it's... Wow, his description of an executive order is really bad. Executive orders aren't a hand wave that you can just do anything you want. They have limits. Now, the powers of the executive order have expanded a lot over the 20th century and first part of the 21st century, but, like, they are not end-all be-all, I am in charge. That's not how it works. There are certain things that are under the purview of the executive branch for which the president, being the head of the executive branch, has pretty broad purview over, but they can't just decide anything. That's not how this works. Executive orders get, questioned and challenged all the time, and can get, and do get struck down. So the idea that the president can just be like, ultimately I'm in charge, which isn't even the case. We have different branches of the government for a reason. The president isn't in charge of everything. They're in charge of the executive branch. Please pay attention in school. Oh my God.
And I'm going to write a document that puts something into place, some sort of policy into place. Now, there's restrictions on what you could write executive orders for and what you can't. Of course, some things like laws have to go into Congress and it has to be voted on by both houses and so forth. However, Trump signed numerous executive orders while he was in power. If you don't know about these executive orders, you really need to educate yourself on them, because everything that's happening right now revolves around your knowledge of those executive orders. Executive Order EO is what I'm going to call them going forward. EO 13818 in particular, and EO 13848.
He's going to be one of these QAnon people that thinks Trump is still the president?
In particular. Those two executive orders you need to familiarize yourself with, because if you don't familiarize yourself with them, things are going to get confusing and frustrating and often aggravating at times, especially when you see who you believe to be president convicted of 34 felonies.
Who you believe to be president! We did it! He thinks Trump is the president!
In a trial that seems like it was just, made out of...
Do executive orders continue into new administrations? They do. They can be reversed, though, and that happens. So, Obama did executive orders. When Trump came in, he reversed some of those executive orders. When Biden came in, he unreversed some of those reversals and reversed some of Trump's executive orders. It's kind of a product of the fact that Congress has become completely dysfunctional, for decades. So it's kind of required to be EOs on some things, but, it's not how the system is supposed to be functioning. It's not great. It's not good. It's a symptom of a pretty fucked up legislative branch, to be honest.
Toothpicks and toilet paper. There was not a single piece of evidence in that trial that screamed guilty, guilty, guilty. None of it.
They literally had all of the documents, and they had the witnesses saying what he did. What do you mean? There was no evidence. There was a lot of it. Enough that he was convicted unanimously on all 34 counts. So, you're objectively wrong, but okay.
And this is why we have to put everything into context, right? So before the election fraud of November of 2020, these executive orders were put in.
No GME meltdowning today? Not today. Did something happen? I haven't been paying attention. I know Keith Gill started tweeting again, and that he sold at some point to get his take up to like 200 million, and now he has like puts or something. I don't know what day those expire. Nemesaur, thanks for 33 months. Ooh, that's the Illuminati number. Congrats. Or the Freemason number.
Place, and they were put in place when they were put in place.
Let me actually look what GME is even at today. I know it went up slightly after the last Keith Gill thing, but it like wasn't as much. It's been diminishing returns. It's at 30. Way higher than it should be still. And I know Keith's apparently going to get investigated now, which is honestly good. He's pushing it beyond a point of feigned innocence, I think, but that's just my view.
It was kind of like...
You thought I did nothing but meme stock coverage? Yep, it's true. I just watch Morantz's videos all the time.
Why are we talking about these particular topics? Like, what's the point of bringing something like this up?
Can I show the DFV puts? You shouldn't just spread lies. It hurts your street cred. First of all, did you just use the word street cred unironically on YouTube? Second of all, I didn't say I know it. I said I thought I heard it. If I'm wrong, correct me. That's great. That's what I thought. Maybe there were calls. Sorry. He had some sort of future thing that he had posted that expires sometime soon. I'm sorry if I misspoke.
In this context, in this, like at this point in time. And a lot of those executive orders had to do with election fraud. So Trump and the White Hats anticipated election fraud. I think there's no doubt about that whatsoever, because in September of 2018, almost 2 full years before the election fraud of November of 2020, Donald Trump started talking about election fraud in an...
I mean, he talked about it in 2016 too, because he was upset he didn't win the popular vote.
Executive order.
He just ramped it up around 2020.
Just kind of out of left field. Everyone's like, oh, well, okay, whatever. You could write an executive order. You're the president. You could do this, but he did it.
Chibahawk says, MAGA tears taste like rainbows. Is there another delicious elixir more invigorating? I don't think so. What election fraud? The thing about conspiracy communities and a lot of the right wing is if they just repeat something enough, they just all collectively believe it. It's easier than having evidence for their positions because their positions are untenable when faced with reality. So instead, they just ignore reality and create a collective one in which all the delusions that justify their terrible political views are true.
And then it kind of got forgotten about. And then the election fraud happened, and then people didn't forget anymore. They started talking about it, especially people like me. I've been talking about...
Kagami says Trump and the White House anticipate election fraud because he was planning to commit election fraud and his accusations were a distraction.
About 1384.
I wouldn't even say a distraction as much as it's just a political strategy now. Not even just now, but it's gotten worse under the Trump era. Is to accuse your enemy of what you are going to do so that when they say the thing to you, it just seems like they're being petty or projecting, even though you are doing the thing. You just said it first as to try and deflect any potential criticism for doing the thing. It's kind of maddening watching it happen over and over. There was an adaptation of a Philip K. Dick story. The original story was called The Hanging Man, and it involved aliens. So they adapted it quite a bit. They changed it in the adaptation to kill all others. And I don't know if anyone saw that. They probably didn't. But man, sometimes it feels like I'm living in that episode and everyone's being gaslit constantly, and I feel like I'm going fucking crazy.
Great for a long time, as you guys I'm sure remember. And the biggest...
There you go, one person saw it, you know what I'm talking about.
How do I want to say this? The most intricate, strategic, impressive, and covert operation that this world has ever seen has been in effect for the last 8 years. Probably even longer than that, but we'll just focus on those 8 years. Going back to
Hey, Trey.
2016, when Trump beat Hillary, they knew that there was going to be election fraud in 2016. There's been election fraud for years. We can't do anything about it because
You still don't have any evidence of any election fraud. You just don't like that you lost. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here because I say this a lot, but they say that a lot. So I kind of have to say it, you know?
every president that gets in the office,
Ben Kagami says, and Trump world constantly doing it is causing people to catch on, which is why Trump supporters are getting lonelier and angrier and people are sick of their shit. I hope that reflects in the election this year.
won't allow the Department of Justice to pursue anything on election fraud. You had Obama in office for 8 years. You had Bush in office for 8 years. You had Clinton before him. So we are not able to do anything about election fraud. That's why Trump ran for president. They needed somebody that was going to blow the election fraud out of the water. Go ahead, do your election fraud the same way you've been doing it for years. That's why all these presidents keep getting elected.
He's under the impression that alleged election fraud that Trump is claiming goes back to Clinton?
That's why they all get placed into office. We need a candidate that's going to blow them out of the water with votes.
That doesn't even make sense. I've never understood this. I've talked about this before. They need to maintain the delusion that everything is rigged, but also their delusion believes that they can somehow vote hard enough that it undoes the rigging. That's not how anything works. Like, if you had a program or something, like they believe, some magical program to, like, win an election, you wouldn't just say, we'll give secret candidate that's our Manchurian candidate, 80 million votes. You would do it as, variable number of votes that are cast for the other guy plus N, and N could be any millions of votes or whatever extra. You know what I mean? It would be a moving target that you could never hit, because if you were trying to rig it via a program or something, you would just program it to always do more votes for the guy you want to win than the other guy. You wouldn't just have it be an arbitrary set number. You can't outvote some program. Like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know, it just frustrates me because it belies a misunderstanding of how virtually everything works, how programs work, how voting machines work, how votes work. I don't even understand. They don't think, and it drives me insane.
So Trump went toe-to-toe with election fraud in 2016. And he won anyway. Hillary was pissed. Pissed. So the anticipation of more election fraud in 2020 was there. That's why those executive orders were written. Now, fast forward to November of 2020, the election fraud occurred. I do not believe that the White Hats thought they would actually have to leave the White House. Before November 4th of 2020, prior to the election, they knew there was going to be election fraud. They knew what they had to do to mitigate the election fraud, not stop it, but mitigate it and catch the people who were responsible for it. They had all these things in the place years before, in some cases, like EO 13848. The election fraud happened.
Who are the White Hats? Just whoever they think the good guys are, people helping Trump. Ben Kagami says, isn't it wild that Trump literally said in 2022, if Republicans win, I should get all the credit, if they lose, I should get none of the blame, and none of those people catch the con? Here's the thing, they're stupid? They're stupid.
The White Hats had to leave, Trump had to leave, obviously, the White House. That was not anticipated. No matter what anybody says, they didn't think they were leaving the White House. Trump did not want to leave the White House. And he started conversing with these other White Hats, these other military generals, these high-ranking military, the Q team, basically, and others in the military as well. But they started conversing about where to go from here. What do we do next? And they didn't have a long time to do it. So they took Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis, and they started meeting with the legislatures, and they tried to put something into place to stop this. We had Mike Pence, who could have stopped everything on January 6th, but didn't. We had
Literally couldn't. It's not his role. His role is not to decide arbitrarily whether or not the votes get counted or not. He's just there to be like, yep, these are the votes.
the false flag operation.
Drives me insane, and apparently he thinks January 6th with a false flag, because of course he does. At the very least, it makes me feel better to know everyone hates Ashley Babbitt, even these people, because they just say she was an Antifa plant. Like, even her own team or whatever, if you want to think about it in that stupid way. Even her own team or whatever doesn't respect her in death. Kind of funny. Will Kale, thanks for a 20 stream streak, says, I'm watching an angry man who can't face facts that the world is changing and he refuses to change with the world. Yeah.
Operation on January 6th where, you know, they just tried to rush the votes through.
Tried to rush the votes through. They weren't trying to rush anything. It was just the day they count the votes. They were just doing the thing. That's literally their job. What are you talking about? Benekagami says, to be somewhat charitable to these people, they're stuck in the echo chamber of massive media empires that shield them of the most genuine interactions with Trump and the things he says. It's true, but I find it a little hard to not have any ounce of it be like, hey, maybe you're kind of shitty. Maybe you want to believe shitty things. I don't know.
The House, so that Biden could be confirmed, and they had to get everybody out of there because of the insurrection. We all know about that, right? Once they knew they had to leave the White House, they were still in the White House. Trump was still president once they realized, hey, we're going to have to get out of here, right? What do we do? So while Jenna Ellis and Rudy Giuliani...
Let's steal a bunch of classified documents. Quick, throw them in my bathroom in Florida. Lenin says, imagine dying for a coup against the deep state only to have your own side say you were an agent of said deep state.
And Sidney Powell and...
Jerry on YouTube, I misspoke. It's okay. I know you have big feelings. It's fine. We're good.
Lynn Wood, that's when all those names started to...
Why is it always YouTube chat? I just want to point that out. Tends to be YouTube chat. What's up with that?
Becoming really, really familiar. You had Tim Waldron, or Phil Waldron, right? He was going testifying in front of all these legislators. While all that was happening, trying to prevent Biden from actually taking power.
You mean illegally trying to prevent the duly elected president from taking office? Cool.
Trump and the White Hats were over on this side. Jenna Ellis, everybody over there. Trump over here. Right? And the goal was to allow this cabal entity to take over with restrictions.
They're an evil cabal, but they'll accept our restrictions. That makes sense. Benekagami says definitely sometimes his blatant bullshit breaks through the chamber and they still ignore it. Yeah.
Trump devolved the government. We're in a state of devolution. We've been in a state of devolution. We've talked about devolution on my show, and many other truthers have talked about it as well. We've been in a state of devolution since January of 2021, right before the election took place.
Devolution is the term that QAnon people use to describe a state in which Trump still secretly is in charge of the government. It's basically all you need to know. Oh, read that. Sorry.
Or the inauguration took place. Trump put in a continuity of government system where there are basically two governments working side by side. One is the government that the people see, which is the Biden administration completely destroying the country in every single way that you could possibly imagine.
Wow. We live in very different countries, apparently.
And then the other legitimate president of the United States, Donald Trump, and his administration. If you think back to the initial orders of business, the initial duties of the Biden administration, Secretary Blinken would go overseas to meet with a foreign country for the first time. You know who else went on the same day Blinken went? Pompeo. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo also went to meet with those foreign nations. Why would that happen? Well, because the nations are now being given a choice. Which government do you recognize? Donald Trump's government, the legitimate government,
The one that isn't the president is the legitimate government. Makes sense.
or the fraudulent government of Joe Biden? And they were told exactly everything that's going on. There was election fraud. They're trying to seize power. We have continuity of government in place. We devolved our government. We're no longer this. We're no longer that. This is how we're operating. Who do you want to side with? Pick now. And that's what happened right after Biden took office.
On some level, you gotta admire the willingness to completely divorce yourself from reality and live in a little pocket imaginary world in your head where things are just how you want it to be. Like, it's horribly destructive and untrue, but also, man, he must sleep real good at night, huh?
Where I'm going with this is here. Ever since Trump decided to leave office and leave the White House, he's still been operating this country as a shadow president, as a shadow government.
But then wouldn't everything be Trump's fault? Like, if you think the world is going to shit and you think the country's going to shit, but Trump is secretly in charge, then that would be Trump's fault, right? Lennon Cat says, I know there's no reason to think this because there's no rational thought occurring in this, but if Donald Trump is secretly the actual president, then one, how is Biden able to destroy America? And two, in what meaningful way is Trump still the president? Usually military control is what they use to say. They say like, oh, well, he's in charge of the military.
It's been happening ever since January of 2021 when Joe Biden was inaugurated. You remember the fake inauguration? Everything was wrong.
I remember the real inauguration.
You remember it looked like it was recorded on 2 different days. It was completely cloudy in the sky. On one day, everything was all gray and black and looked like it was stormy weather. And then other shots, clear blue sky.
Are you aware that different areas of the sky can have clouds and others can be clear? Or that over time clouds move, so in one shot it might be cloudy, but then in the next shot, or over time, the sun might be through the clouds because there's a break in them?
This is the same day, like half an hour apart. Everything looked completely weird. Everybody remembers that, right? You have 2 simultaneous governments, one illegitimate and one legitimate. One, the illegitimate one, is the public-facing one. It's what everybody sees, right? You have this other government over here, which is
Kind of seems like if the public-facing one is the one that virtually everyone accepts except for a few fringe conspiracy theorists, then that's the legitimate government. What do you think legitimacy entails in this case? Legitimacy and the sovereignty of nations doesn't depend on some magical innate thing. It's on everyone's agreement that people in charge of it represent that entity, right? It's like a social construct.
is actually running things.
Ashrand, thanks for a 65 stream streak, says, I'm trying to overthrow the government on the orders of the shadow president. I'm with the good guy.
And doing stuff behind the
Are we the baddies?
scenes. Like what, you say? Well, look at what's happening to metals. Look at what's happening to the price of precious metals. Just
Okay. Cool. Benigami says, isn't it wild how we have people like Ted Cruz claiming we had a peaceful transfer of power when Trump famously refused to attend the inauguration ceremony and stole Air Force One to fly to Mar-a-Lago to pout about losing the White House? He didn't steal it. Air Force One stopped being such mid-flight because Trump took Biden's plane to play with like a literal child. He didn't steal it, but he did use it to go home, but it's fine.
in the last month, we're up, what, $10 an ounce?
Yeah, when, like, inflation is high, or when people are uncertain financially, often precious metals will go up. Not uncommon.
Almost
It's a favorite of prepper types, and also it's a commodity that at minimum tends to hold its value.
$10 an ounce. They are getting rid of the fraud in the precious metals market. They are rooting out the bad actors within the illegitimate government. Now, let's talk about that for a minute. You have this illegitimate government in place, right? You have Biden, you have his Department of Justice, you have his FBI, his CIA, his court appointed judges, all of that stuff, right?
You're aware that Trump appointed many judges, right? Including many people on the Supreme Court now? Hbeard says it's important to understand having a mental model of the world that's coherent and comports with reality as much as possible as a liberal value, not universal. One of the big draws of Trumpism is that it promises to bully reality into agreeing with whatever they already believe. Harold Elbowman with a 5-stream streak says, I know nobody likes her, but I have a theory that Ashley Babbitt prevented a bunch of future protests by getting shot and proving that being delusional and white ain't a substitute for body armor. Also, to answer your question, if God Trump is on the throne, why is Satan Biden allowed to ruin lives? It's the problem of evil. We've reinvented it.
Right? Not everybody in that administration or in any of those branches that I just mentioned, not every single one of them are aware that Biden is an illegitimate president and they're operating under an illegitimate government.
Sorry, 4 minutes ago I missed a tip from Green Guy, $3 tip, says, Hannah, they looked into voter fraud and didn't find some. Turned out over 80% of it was on the red side. Since the outcome didn't match their rhetoric, they ignored it like they always do. Indeed.
Not everybody is aware of that. There's probably on that side less than 10 people that actually know that this is a sham. Everything that's happening is a sham.
Again, that just sounds like Biden's the president then. Like, even in the internal logic of your worldview, that just would mean Biden's president.
It aggravates me because even though it is illegitimate and even though that is the case and we are going through all this bullshit, it's still happening in real time, right? It's not like we could pause, delete, backspace, and go back to the moment when it started. You can't do that. But the way that I equate this is like a casualty of war. When you're in war, you have casualties. There's no doubt that you have casualties when you're in a war. There's no denying it and there's no doubting it. The only thing that you could do is try to limit the casualties, mitigate the damages, and hopefully survive. We have been led through 4 years of humiliation as a country.
Nothing has been more embarrassing as a country than Donald Trump being the president. Anyone under any context saying anything but Donald Trump in recent times, Donald Trump is like fucking embarrassing as a president. He got laughed at the fucking UN. Like, you can say so many things about Trump and Biden. You cannot say that Trump is less embarrassing. That is objectively a ridiculous statement. And if you think that, your entire worldview is fucking whacked. Innocuous Blonde, thanks for 31 months, says, huzzah, another anniversary in MAGA cope, delicious.
Decimation in terms of our economy. Although we've been shouting at the top of our lungs as the people for
Oof, sorry to hear about your shingles, Lori.
Someone to do something. Nothing seemingly has happened. And what happened last week with Trump being convicted of all these felonies makes us feel even worse in many ways. But you have to remember something. The things that you see with your own eyes, and I know it's hard to not trust your own eyes. You see something, you hear something with your ears, with your eyes, your brain processes it, and it's hard to say, oh, well, yeah, that's not really happening. But the bottom line is, and the truth of the matter,
Is he literally telling people not to listen to their lying eyes? Is he literally doing the literally 1984, the state tells you not to listen to the, like, what your eyes tell you and your ears hear? Is he literally doing this? Unironically? Oh, God.
Is that people, what people are seeing, is this bothering you?
Rick M, thanks for a 20 stream streak. Thanks for all the fun. Thanks for watching.
It's not that easy. Oh, look at that. That's bad, huh? Better? I'm so stupid. I don't know why. I didn't even notice the glare. Everybody's commenting on it in the chat. Anyway, what you have to realize
Fenekagami says, but remember, the left is doing Big Brother 1984 shit. Hydrate.
is this type of event, this type of scenario, this type of plan, continuity of government, devolution, has never happened before. No one's ever done this.
They still haven't. Good news.
There's no precedent. It's the first time any of this has ever happened. So when you say, "Oh, well, that doesn't look right. That doesn't look, legitimate. This is weird. Like this is yeah, because it's never happened. Of course it's weird. The first time anything ever happens, it's going to be a little weird." And that's exactly where we're at now. So when you see Trump being convicted of 34 felonies, this is nothing but the legitimate government, Donald Trump's government, with his cabinet, with his secondary White House, which is Mar-a-Lago.
He doesn't have a cabinet. He doesn't have a White House. These are not things that he definitionally can have, since he's not the president. He can have people that he pays to talk to him and give him advice, but that's not a presidential cabinet unless he wins the election.
His Department of Justice, with his secretary.
Please vote. I'm begging you to vote. I will literally do anything for you all to vote. I have no shame. Vote.
Secretary of State, with his FBI. You know a lot of people that are in that government. Kash Patel's in that government. You have some of the people that are very, very close to Trump.
He had a cabinet, and in that cabinet were nuclear secrets.
That had taken Trump's side right after the election fraud. Ron DeSantis. Hold on, let me text him.
Why do these people not turn off their notifications when they film things with their phone? I don't even film things with my phone, and I don't have I never have notifications on, to be fair. I do silent, but if I did, I would turn it off before stream, and I'm not even using this to film! Boomers! He's not even old enough to be a boomer, but he should know! Knock this shit off!
You have Ron DeSantis. You have...
Will I watch Blair White at Pride? Blair White's going to Pride? Oh boy.
I'm not going to name every. General Flynn. You have all these people who took Trump's side and the white hat side very, very early.
Blair White annoys me. I don't watch her often because she just pisses me off. Pisses me off a lot. As a trans person, it annoys me. M. Scheffler says, just checking in before trivia at the brewery. Have my bits and a good night. Well, thank you. Hope you have fun at trivia. Good luck. Reaches and Hose, thanks for a 5-stream streak, says this will be the first year I can vote with my new name. Hell yeah.
On. And they've never wavered from that side. Lynn Wood. And while all these things are happening on the television, and CNN covered every single day of the trial, of course they do. It's the only way they can get ratings is if they cover Trump. So Trump on trial.
I mean, a former president being on trial is going to get covered by everyone because it's literally never happened before.
Oh, boom, let's advertise as, just...
Literally, Trump could, strangle a baby on live TV, and these people would be like, oh, CNN covering President Trump strangling a baby. It's the only way they can get ratings. I don't know, maybe they should cover the baby strangling?
It's just ridiculous. Trump is literally exposing to the public, in the only manner that the public is going to understand, how bad things really are. And it's very unfortunate for us. It's unfortunate for us that lost loved ones in this mess due to anxiety, due to stress, due to lost jobs, lost wages, financial turmoil, financial distress, COVID, the vaccine, complications from the vaccine.
Oh, fuck off! Steve with the Q says, Boomerism is not so much an age as a state of mind characterized by an unwillingness or inability to adapt to new technology or situations. No wonder chuds exhibit the same characteristics.
So many different things we could point to with this past 4 years and say, oh, well, you know, if Trump had just stayed in office, none of that would have happened. But guess what? If Trump had just stayed in office, the same exact thing would have happened anyway in 2024. Because the cabal would have installed another president in 2024. And all that happened was, it would be everything that started in
Wow, you sure do make it sound like everything you do is pointless.
2020 would have been delayed until 2024. So there's no way that you could sit there and say, oh, well, you know, I wish this nightmare would be over. Well, it could be over. We could have ended it already. The White Hats could have ended it already. And had they done that, we would have been in the same exact position in 2024, because we never would have won the election in 2024. It would have never happened.
What a weird thing to say.
It would have just been more of the same. You would have
Sounds like you know your political positions are quite unpopular.
had 8 years of Trump, great period, right? Everything was great.
Can't say I agree based on the first 4 years I got to sample of that, but okay.
And then it just disappears, and then we're back to where we were. So we had a great 8 years, and then the next 20, 30, 50 years are turmoil. It had to happen this way. It's the only way that it could have happened. It's the only way that the ultimate goal and the ultimate sacrifice was actually going to fix anything that was wrong with this world. And I'm not just talking about, you know, within the United States. The cabal runs the world. It's not just one cabal president on the top of a government in the United States. It's cabal presidency across the map. It's big corporate. It's big pharma. It's the manipulation of the stock market. It's the manipulation of the metals market. There's so many things that are wrong with society, and the only way for this to happen was the way that it happened.
Makes me sad that people can, like, the world is complicated. The world is complicated, and none of us can fully understand it. All we can do is look at the things that we can see and perceive around us, and then try and build out a model of the world from there. But holy shit, to just break down and give up on trying to understand the nuance of everything and just boil everything down to everything bad is because of this group, and if we just beat this group, we win and good will flourish. It's the perspective of, like, a child. It's the perspective of someone with no experience in the world and how people function. It's just really sad, to be entirely honest. Let's see. Fenekagami says she already went. She tried to gotcha a few kids by claiming Trump is more pro-gay than Obama or Biden. The kids literally responded, "Who cares? They're all old men." This is her in her own video. Stephen J. Neptune Man says, what's a great 4 years it was with Trump? There was a global pandemic in year 4. H-Bird says, I spent most of my teens in the 90s. For people who are cis-het white middle-class people, that was a good-ass, that was as good as things would ever get. Yet everyone was depressed and complained all the time. I worry that we're going to go through that now again. Things are actually pretty good right now, but everyone is cranky and can't articulate why, and I worry that this will put Trump back in power. I mean, there are actual material factors. Inflation is high. Because of all of the stuff that happened with COVID. We're still dealing with the sort of like ramifications of that. I don't disagree. That's the thing. That's one of the things that's going against Biden is people are pissed off, and I think they're pissed off at the wrong things. But what are you gonna do?
And unfortunately, it's just how it is. So what you saw last week with Trump's conviction was it was exactly what Trump said it was, a sham trial. It wasn't even real. Look at some of the illegal advice and direction that the judge in that trial gave to the jury. It's illegal. Trump's convictions, right? Because again, this is just a game. It's just a story. It's just
Not a game. He was legally convicted.
to show the public who are watching the news, who don't watch truthers like me, who don't know about the Great Awakening, who don't know about the plan, all those people that are still just completely either half asleep or completely asleep. It's all for them to see and get exposed to what the cabal is actually doing. So on appeal, if this were a real case, right, and this was a real conviction, on appeal, the case gets thrown out. It immediately gets thrown out. The judge was not only compromised in the trial, but the judge gave a legal direction to the jury. Every single
He didn't, or she didn't. I don't remember the gender of the judge. Sorry.
count would be dismissed on appeal immediately. But that's not even
Guess we'll find out.
important. It doesn't even matter how they end up playing that out. I got news for you. Put your listening ears on. If you think that the reaction and how you felt when you saw the felony convictions, if you think that that was bad, wait until he gets sentenced to jail.
What's the illegal
Because I'm
direction
telling
he's talking about? Right-wing people take exception with the fact that the judge presented 3 potential crimes that they could consider, because the 34 counts he was convicted of, which are typically misdemeanors, were enhanced to felonies based on if they were done in order to try and obscure a different crime. Now, the way that the law is worded, you don't need to be convicted of that other crime, so they were able to determine he was trying to cover either changing more documents, election fraud, or obscuring financial records, something like that. Right-wing talking heads are basically claiming that this directive was illegal. It's not, to my knowledge. Just a thing that they're saying. Hey, Casfell, how's it going?
You're right now. That's exactly what's going to happen. They are literally going to try to throw him in jail. The sentence is going to come down, and he's going to get jail time. And I told you guys, I don't know how long each of you have been following me, whether it's 3 months, 3 years, 3 weeks, 3 days. I had a live just last month, and it was called The Event. If you haven't watched it, you should probably go back and watch it. Because what I mentioned in that live, we're living through right now. It was in that live, and I think the live even before that, maybe the one right before that one, where I said there needs to be an event. There has to be an event that changes the public perception of what's happening, meaning,
Well, that's ominous to say. Fenigami says, thankfully polling is suggesting the conviction is hurting Trump. He's gotten a spike in fundraising, but every poll is now putting Biden in the lead. One even polled the same group they polled before the trial, which suggests the trial has changed some people's minds, and now Biden seems to be trying to pressure Israel to end the war, so things are looking up. One can hope.
Trump's on trial, Trump is campaign, Trump is election, he's talking about the election, he's doing all this stuff. There has to be a very strong line in the sand, line of demarcation that veers us off the path of what everybody is seeing publicly, the public-facing story, so to speak.
So to speak.
Everybody that's seeing that there has to be a switch. And the only way to switch that perception, the only way to switch that pathway is there to be a very jaw-dropping gut punch to not only Trump, but to the United States, and for that matter, the world.
Sounds like he's calling for 9/11 too.
Because what's happening here is the white hats are running this show, and they are showing the public how a Department of Justice, a White House, in many cases, Congress, and in some cases, the Supreme Court, have all been corrupted to the point where Trump is being politically assassinated by his political opponents. Not because of crimes, but because of he's running for president. The main reason why he's going through all this is because he's a candidate against the cabal. And the white hats are pulling those strings like puppeteers.
Okay, I'm moving on to the next guy. He certainly has some views. Oh, this one's creepy. This is a person, this isn't a true story, to be clear, but he's reading a fake news story about 3 of the 12 jurors who found Trump guilty being arrested, rather, which isn't the case, but their fan fiction now includes arresting jurors for convicting Donald Trump. Why is that doing that? That's weird. Hold on. Why? Incorrect window capture.
So we have more material from a website that purports to produce parody, satire, and humor, realrawnews.com. Link to the actual article in the description box down below. White hats arrest 3 of the 12 deep state jurors who unlawfully found President Trump guilty. By Michael Baxter, June 4th, 2024. White hats over the weekend located and arrested 3 of the 12 deep state jurors who unlawfully found President Donald J.
Deep state jurors.
Trump guilty on 34 counts of falsifying business records. A source in General Eric M. Smith's office told Real Raw News.
White hats is shorthand for good guys. Juggle. Where's my other juggling ball? Do that.
The trio, 2 men and a woman, were known Democrat operatives whose now deleted social media pages were at one time filled with vitriolic
No, this isn't the guy who actually writes the stories, to my knowledge. I think he just reads them.
Anti-Trump posts and had contributed financially to Biden's 2020 presidential campaign. The female, our source said, had ties to Antifa, having attended their rallies in several states between 2016 and 2018.
Again, in this fantasy, they're arresting people for, again, doing a jury like decision they don't like and having contributed to a political party they don't like. In this fantasy, they are arresting people for their decision on a jury. Kind of a big deal in this fantasy of theirs.
She was also apparently a wizard. The day after Trump's conviction, $2 million.
She was a wizard! Fuck, how'd you capture her? That's impressive.
$1 million magically materialized in her Bank of America savings account, transferred there from, white hats say, an offshore slush fund where the deep state hoards cash from illicit narcotic sales. Our source wouldn't say whether white hats knew about the trio's deep state allegiance before the May 30th verdict or speculate how their loyalties escaped the attention of Trump's legal armada instead alluding to a circuitous plan. Exposing the deep state is laborious. There's a method to the madness.
and we trust President Trump as he's placed his trust in us.
Why did he do it like that? Could he have done it in literally any way that didn't make that go into my ears?
The source said. According to the source, the arrests co-occurred late Saturday night, conducted by both U.S. Marines and a Special Forces detachment from Fort Liberty.
Let's see, did I show Laura Loomer's call for murdering jurors and such as traitors and even Tim Pool? Cut? Oh, boy. No, I didn't. Hold on. Copy link address, paste. Take a look at that later.
He declined to comment on mission specifics, citing lack of clearance, but said the three were easy targets and had no deep state protection, and no friendly forces were wounded in the operation. He added that he would supply further details once all 12 had been convicted of treason, at which time their names will become a matter of...
Again, convicted of treason for coming to a jury decision these people don't like.
Public record.
Like, you could, this is like the most authoritarian thing you could do. Like, arresting people because they found someone guilty that you or other people decided, that's not right, I don't agree with these jurors. That's the point of a jury. That's the point of our justice system, is so this shit doesn't happen. This is disgusting.
We're not naming them now. If we do, the deep state will target their families and blame it on MAGA. I'm not saying... Well,
you're targeting these... Like, again, I know it's fictional, but within the logic of the fiction, you are targeting innocent people!
We'll have all of them tomorrow or the next day, but we will get them. A few went into hiding immediately after finding Trump guilty. They can run, but they can't hide from patriotism.
Our source said.
They can't hide from patriotism.
Asked if White Hats had acted too soon since...
Sounds like dialogue from Starship Troopers.
The juror's disappearance could provoke Kabbalist Judge Juan Merchan to deliver a harsher sentence on July 11th. He said,
Merchan's probably quaking in fear right now, as we've already begun moving against the DA's office. He knows Trump's innocent, and if he imposes jail time, he'll be behind bars the same day, while President Trump walks scot-free.
Nasty.
So remember to love God and try not to let the corrupt elite...
You're describing corruption! Arresting jurors for rendering a verdict you don't like is corrupt!
Their puppet...
I need the... Isn't that corrupt?
I know, Senior Navius.
Isn't that corrupt?
Isn't that corrupt?
Betraying the public's
Our
trust?
justice
Isn't that
system
betraying
is
the
broken.
public?
It's
Isn't that
ineffective.
Isn't that corrupt? Isn't that corrupt? Isn't that corrupt? Isn't that corrupt?
Thanks, Neil.
Politicians, puppet judges, puppet prosecutors, puppet governments, NATO, or Big Pharma kill you.
Good God, that was disgusting. All right, top of the hour, calls to action. If you want to help support the stream, you can like the stream on YouTube. You can donate using the tip link, which always helps and gets us closer to a costume day. Bits and gift subs help the show continue as well. All right, moving on. Trumpcast IRL livestream abruptly ends after Laura Loomer calls for executing Democrats. Today's episode of Timcast IRL, the YouTube show hosted by right-wing streamer Tim Pool, came to an abrupt end after Trump ally Laura Loomer called for executing Democrats. Loomer made the remarks in response to the former president's conviction at his hush money trial. During the show, which was pulled from YouTube but preserved by a right-wing Rumble channel called Bannon's War Room, Loomer ranted her hatred for Trump's political enemies. Wake up. Stop being nice to these people, she declared. I don't give a shit about these people, their livelihood, their well-being, the well-being of their families, their little kids. I don't give a shit. And that's the mentality that everybody needs to have now in this country, because it is war. It is war. Tim, in response, said there was no question that Trump, if reelected, should start locking Democrats up. Puka, thank you for gifting 2 Tier 1 subs. Yes, and there is also the Patreon. Quote, should there be lists of Democrats who need to go to jail? 100%, Poole added. And the reason for that is they committed crimes, and the reason we can put them on trial is to show the whole world we will uncover what you've done. We will make sure everyone knows, and you will be held accountable for it. Again, if you have evidence of crimes, do that. But you don't. So maybe stop making empty threats. That'd be great. Not just jail, they should get the death penalty, Loomer chimed in. But just as she began to explain that the punishment for treason is death, the stream suddenly cut out. The video no longer appears on YouTube and was instead replaced with a disclaimer that it has been removed by the uploader.
And I'm just of the mindset where, like, I don't care about the rules anymore. You know, if they're literally trying to throw Donald Trump in jail, they're trying to put Donald Trump in jail. They want to kill Trump. and so when I see people like Jim Jordan, right, sending out letters today saying, we respectfully request that you accept our invitation to come testify to Congress and explain to us why you decided to weaponize the government against Donald J. Trump. You know, they are trying to burn this country down. And the only thing standing in between us and them is Donald Trump. Wake up. Stop being nice to these people. I don't give a shit about these people, their livelihood, their well-being, the well-being of their families, their little kids. I don't give a shit. And that's the mentality that everybody needs to have now in this country, because it is war. It is war. So it's really nice of you to, you know, to have
protect
that.
my show so I don't burn my show to the ground for some
I don't
crackpot
think that it would burn it down, but I personally just don't think that
The
Harry
idea-
Sisson is worthy of any
The idea that
respect.
I'm going to
It's
sacrifice
your
my
choice.
ethics.
I'm not
The
saying
idea
you
that
have
I'm
to
going
do
to
it.
sacrifice my ethics for some 20-year-old who's scared to debate, it's not going to happen. The idea that I would stoop to the level of indignity of Sam Cedar to do what these it's
The
never going to
indignity of Sam Cedar.
happen.
Oh no, Sam Cedar, what a fucking nightmare.
Now, if people want to get involved in lawsuits and they want to take this all the way full steam, they want to come on the show and I will roast him and say everything I can because I have an audience that will listen when I say Harry Sisson's wrong. That's perfect. And then I can invite people on the show and they know if they come here, they know what they're in for.
They're cowards, though. They're not going to accept it.
Of course they are. But the
He's a
idea
coward.
the idea that I would the idea that we decide, I'll put it this way. Should Democrats be in jail? No question. When Donald Trump gets elected,
BJ Neptune Man says, I don't really want to unite the country with these people.
should he start locking them up? No question. Should there be lists of Democrats that need to go to jail? 100%. And the reason for that is they've committed crimes.
Bumble Homestead says, Boxy working hard today, very hard.
We need to make sure that when Donald Trump wins, we've got an attorney general, a deputy attorney general, a head of the CIA and the FBI. Kash Patel would be fantastic. We can have attorney general. There's some names floating around. And then they can start having their investigators and the feds issuing subpoenas, pulling up evidence, and with real evidence, bring them to judges for
Real evidence, not the evidence you used to convict a former president.
warrants.
Real evidence is evidence they like.
Then these people can spend three years of their lives fighting tooth and nail for the crime against the government for crimes they committed, and we can prove.
Again, yeah, if you have evidence, great, do that. Cool.
And the reason why we put them on trial?
At what point does Boxy ask for a pay raise right now? Pay Boxy. Use the tip link to pay Boxy. Toreador says they're really going to do the alt-right thing, aren't they? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is that we can show the whole world we will uncover what you've done. We will make sure everyone knows, and you will be held accountable for it.
Not just jail, they should get the death penalty. You know, we actually used to have the punishment for treason in this country.
Wow, they pulled that quick, didn't they? That's pretty hilarious. They didn't even... They were, like, ready on the button with that one.
So we have
Creepy guy. Okay, let's move on. What will we do next? Try this one. Everything I don't like is treason. It do be how it is sometimes.
Hi Divine Souls, this is Nala Nguyen. Welcome to 3D to 5D Consciousness. This channel helps you to
You demand your Patreon goes 50-50 split between Boxy and Baja? Sold.
expand your mind, get you ready to become the 5D version of yourself, and as well as a spot for Galactic News. If you're new to this broadcast, a big welcome. Thank you to the loyal viewers who tune to my broadcast and share my work. And a special shout out to the kind souls who donate to my channel. Without your love and support, these broadcasts would not be possible. So the biggest news this week is Donald Trump's indictments and conviction. A lot of people are throwing an uproar right now because he is being politically prosecuted, humiliated, his reputation
Can Boxy get a Cash App?
is
It'd probably work better than PayPal, to be honest.
taking a toll.
More people use Cash App.
The cabal has set the precedents against him. So what they've done is they have already laid out the foundation of what the White Hats are going to do when they do the counterattack. So because they have impeached a former president, they have forced Donald Trump to reveal tax records and business records. They have made him lose executive privileges. He has lost
He's not the executive anymore.
attorney-client privileges. He's forced to release private information, phone records and text messages.
That's court, baby.
His home has been
Jeronimus says 5D, but I don't want to be Mr. Mixius Plick.
raided by the FBI. He's been subpoenaed by partisan committees.
I haven't looked at Danzy recently.
He's been repeatedly indicted and
I
arrested.
genuinely don't know. I can look. No new Danzy yet.
He's lost his First Amendment rights. He's lost his right to a jury trial. VPs no longer have the authority to question the validity of disputed electoral votes. The losing party has no authority to submit contingent electors when results are disputed.
Yeah, that was always the case. What are you talking about?
And former presidents have no presidential immunity.
Yes. Yep, presidential immunity shouldn't be a fucking thing ever. What are you talking about?
So this has been a long list of presidents that the cabal has set up, which means that when it's going to be a counterattack, which is going to be happening very soon, all of the former presidents that committed all these crimes are going to be exposed. Now, all of Trump's dirty laundry has been exposed for the public to judge, to evaluate, and they can see he is an innocent man and he's been humiliated. His branding has been tarnished. What the cabal has put him and his family through is just absolutely, appalling. As you can see from all of these dehumanizing treatment, he's garnered a lot of public sympathy, compassion. I like to focus on the
Wait, did they ruin his brand, or has he harbored a lot of public sympathy? Which is it?
positive that came out of the situation. So for example, this situation has triggered more mass awakening, especially in the most sleepy of the sleep them all, which are the Democrats. So a lot of Democrats that were anti.
I've heard so many right-wing people be like, this is waking up so many Democrats. I haven't seen a single person see this who wasn't already a Trump supporter not think this is fucking hilarious or go like, finally. I know that that's just my personal anecdote, but I don't see it.
Anti-Trump are actually waking up to be in support of him because they can see how unfair the justice system is. This has also helped unify many people together, not only in America, but around the world, because they can see how corrupt the system is. So now you can see the blacks, the Hispanics, the whites, the Asian, everybody is unifying because they can see that if the cabal can do this to a successful businessman with a lot of money, that means the cabal can do this to anybody.
I don't think I'm going to falsify 34 business records in order to try and cover up hush money paid to a sex worker that I, cheated on my wife with. I just don't think I'll be in that situation.
Any American. So the exposure of the two-tier corrupt justice system is apparent for everyone to see. Everybody knows now there's a deep state, there's cabal, that they have their own set of rules and status for themselves, and then for everybody else who they think are peasants, we have a different...
I'm starting to think that this is a joke for... No, I shouldn't even make this joke because it's dehumanizing to MAGA people.
set of rules.
And I don't want to do that even in jest.
That we have to follow by. From this situation, Donald Trump has raised more money because people want to help support him pay off all these legal fees because they can see all these fraudulent lawsuits are causing him to lose his focus on doing campaigns, raising money for his party. And so they can also see that this is clearly a way for the left to cause election interference. So the people are waking up, they can see all the game plan of the cabal, and people are becoming more hip to what they're trying to do, and it's not working. Now I want to share with you another clip of how the White Hats have set up this sting operation for the cabal, and they walk right into it. So in this clip, he is summarizing what the cabal is doing in terms of trying to prosecute Donald Trump with showing evidence that's tampered, lying to the court, lying to the American people. The judge had an opportunity to completely dismiss the case, but she didn't do that. She's allowing the case to be recorded for public records. So obviously, this is all part of the show to show to the people what's happening in the justice system in America. So I want to share this clip and say some more insights after it. Here's the clip.
Yeah, so that famous photograph, what we have now learned, and the
why did you put music on it and all these letters? Oh God.
That was staged, and those top secret classified sheets that all the public saw and said, oh my God, look at those top secret documents. Those were placed there by the FBI. And what Jack Smith admitted in court this week was that, in his word, they mishandled the classified documents and misrepresented those to the court. Maria, that's a
this isn't even the right case. Does she think he was convicted in the documents case? This is about the documents case. He was convicted in the hush money case. She's not even talking about the right case. What the fuck?
Way of saying we tampered with the evidence, then we lied to the court about it. And they got caught when President Trump's lawyers and the other co-defendants raised this issue and said, look, the documents here don't match up. The documents that were presented to us don't match.
This isn't even the correct crimes.
Designed to be this way.
Okay, I'm moving on to someone else who has a better understanding of what they're even talking about, because holy shit, she doesn't even know what crimes we're supposed to be talking about, so... What are we doing? Oh, you want to see something cursed as shit?
Stucknecks, Zeus, Nitro. These are all connected to military operations by White Hats. This powerful virus went through computers to phones. It went through all systems. It jumped around through the whole world. This powerful virus was created by White Hats inside the Pentagon. And this is all connected to TikTok. TikTok was using the same operations to infect phones, to jump around from computers, everywhere to emails, and it collects all information. So this is all connected to Cheyenne Mountain. This is all connected to military operations before Trump was placed. These military operations were installed after 9/11, and the White Hats created these powerful viruses to collect information, all the data. And they did this, the reason why was to collect from the elites to find out where human trafficking operations are and how the...
Does this person believe in Stargates? Probably. What does this person not believe in? What is this link sent by J. Ronimus?
No! None of that! Shame on you!
Toreador says this is giving me serious Uncanine Valley. Hydrate.
The world system was doing the money laundering system. This powerful AI technology was used as a virus to collect information. People know this as the Kraken in 2017. Now this is connected.
The Kraken? H-Bird says, reminds me of this. Oh god. What is this gonna be?
Purpose. By now, your name and particulars have been fed into every laptop, desktop, mainframe, and supermarket scanner that collectively make up the global information conspiracy, otherwise known as
the Beast.
The Beast.
Dale. Artemis8192 with 40 months says, hey Hannah, I was going to ask for your powers to bless interviews, but I couldn't catch a stream before the interview, and then I was hired later that day, so clearly your powers work even when someone just intends to ask. See, there you go. That's the correct answer you should have drawn from that situation. Good job.
Connected to TikTok. These are military operations. And now a lot of people are in panic through Europe, through the world, that has collected all the data on the elites, including their children, grandchildren. You know, this is connected to people who are doing adrenochrome, blackmailing other people, doing illicit activities. Everything you can imagine, from weapons trade to drug trading to human trafficking. TikTok has captured all the data, and now there's panic inside of Europe, and nobody wants to talk about this. And this is why Trump went through the world in 2017 to the Vatican. He went to Israel, and he let them all know that the military has everything, and he has boxes that were filled up with 2 airplanes that followed Trump, and these airplanes all contain copies of all the operations that were gathered through Israel, all the operations on the Vatican, human trafficking, everything that you can imagine, pedophile. Trump had all of these boxes. That's why Trump was placed, and that's why Trump went through the world in 2017, to show all the evidence, you know, to people in the Netherlands, to people at the G20 summit.
Toreador says, sometimes the dog wags the tail, and sometimes the tail wags the dog into a VTuber spouting conspiracy bullshit. Casfell with a link says, here's some bits. This is the real truth behind the current political systems of the world. Oh no.
Lyrics coming at you at supersonic speed.
Some of them do on a dang old human man, boy. I tell you what, I get a goddamn superhuman, innovative, animated dang old rubber, so that anything you say is ricocheting back at you, man. Devastated more than ever, demonstrating how to get a dang old audience of feeling like it's levitating, faded like a farmer's tan, man. I tell you what, here's getting worked up, complain, hot like propane, boom, power splitting them facts, man, spinning them rhymes like a dang old tornado, jib jabbing like it just ain't no thing. Why be a god and not a dang old king?
Boomhauer, I didn't understand a word you just said.
Funny.
You know, all of these different places where Trump was at. And that's why Trump was really arrogant, you know, when he was at these meetings, these greetings, because he wasn't there to greet people. He was actually there to show them that he has...
Does he need a reason to be arrogant? He's a narcissist. Toreador says, me watching a fae possess my dog and whisper things through them to make me feel insane, like a fluffy flesh puppet. Ugh.
It's a full corruption on all the countries, and people were scared of Trump at that moment. But Trump also told them a storm is coming. The financial collapse is going to happen. The CIA, the deep state, the Rothschild, the Rockefeller...
Artemis says, I think this starts a train. It should have, I think. It didn't for some reason. I don't know why. That should have. What a pain. That's a bummer.
They control over 80% of almost all finances of the world. You know, this is back in 2014, 2015. Now that's dropping a little bit to over 60%.
Stone Corbell, thanks for gifting a sub and kicking off a hype train.
5%.
That did it.
Now that's all collapsing as Russia, China come together, and they're all coming together inside of BRICS. And now that Black Swan event, the financial crisis of the United States, fake currency.
The United States fake currency. It's cat curs dog. Best Demon, thanks for 300 bits.
No, this is all collapsing the fiat system. And this is what Trump was warning about. And this was all meant to happen. So don't be scared as a Black Swan event is happening. These are all important to collapse the deep state money. But then still...
Research thing, don't know if you know, but Cheyenne Mountain, was Cheyenne Mountain important to conspiracy people before Stargate came out? I thought they were more into Mount Weather, NORAD, be damned. I'm actually not sure.
Money will be available. Trump will come back into office. There's a lot of things that's going to happen really quick within the 1 and 2 years.
Okay, I'm done with the dog. That is hilarious, I'm not gonna lie. But that's probably about it. 84% to level 1 in a hype train. I am gonna run and use the bathroom real quick, so do me a favor and keep the hype train going. Let me see, where's my DVD be right back thing? It's around here somewhere. Maybe. Did I lose it? Is it lost forever? That's a shame. Alright, well, I'll be right back. In the meantime, Chair will tell you about, Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Overthought, thanks for gifting a sub and getting us over another level on the hype train. Be right back. Returned. 7% to level 2 on the hype train. Hello, Paha. How's it going? Hydrate. I can do that. Jaden with a 245 bits says, with how absolutely ridiculous this shit is, they'll believe anything if it means they're the good guys, even when their own politician praises Epstein and gets convicted as a felon. Anything to make it work. I've never been more convinced that no one thinks they're the bad guy. Ever.
So, of course, Trump got convicted this week. We knew it was going to happen. So we've already said it, right? Because there was two last precedents that needed to be set. Trump going to jail. And I know I was listening to Dave on the X22 report. Dave's like, wow, maybe he'll get house arrest. No, they're going to put him into the physical jail. They have to put him in the physical jail for it.
My review of Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Haven't seen it yet, actually.
To mean something to the public. So
right.
He will. And I already heard that the Secret Service was already met with the corrections people to make sure Trump's got the room. So, and this was before the verdict happened, that they already met with him. So, yeah, they're planning on...
I mean, it's their job to prepare for any potentialities. That doesn't mean he's gonna, and I don't think he'll end up in jail. I wish he did. I don't think he will.
Going there. So he will be in jail. Now, this means that any former president can be convicted of a crime and sentenced to jail. So understand what this means as part of our military movie that we're in. This is a movie you're in. It's great.
There's that, again, there's that line. We're all watching a movie. Everything's fake. Don't believe your lying eyes.
Because the Q posts say that the D's are going to not give up the White House. And
D's nuts. 17% to level 2 with a minute and a half left on the hype train. H-Baird with 40 bits says, as sure as I am that this won't happen, I hope Trump does go to jail and starts complaining about crackles and pops. Chili gets a new roommate. That's the twist. It's Donald Trump.
So they're going to have to show what that looks like. You remember they said Trump wasn't going to give up the White House. And so now they're going to show the D's not giving up the White House. So I think the movie goes all the way to the inauguration, at least, because they're going to show the D's not wanting to leave the White House. All the dirt's going to start dropping. It's World War III is going to get pushed. Stock market's going to collapse at some point over this time frame.
Nemesaur, thanks for gifting 10 tier 1 subs to the community. Much appreciated. Saves the train, gets us over level 2.
When it makes sense. The end of the world, as we've been talking about, it's now getting ready to happen. So all the crimes about Obama, because they barely touched on those, they're going to start dropping. 25th Amendment's got to get kicked in here, right? Because they got to get rid of Biden. So expect Trump to lose the executive privilege. It's going to happen because that means now all the other presidents are open to be charged for their crimes. So that will happen.
Again, were Republicans under the impression that presidents could just break the law? Why did they continually talk about locking Hillary and Biden and Obama up? I know Hillary hasn't been the president, but she was running. Like, why did they think that presidents couldn't be convicted of crimes?
People need to understand everything.
I know Nixon claimed it, but pretty famously, Nixon resigned and then was pardoned. So, like, why would you think that? I don't understand. 95% to level 3.
It has to happen to Trump first. So I just want to stress that to you.
Okay, that one's done. Let's see, what is next? Vestdemon, thanks for 400 bits, getting us over level... Is that level 3? Level 4 of the hype train? Appreciate it. There's another one called We're Watching a Scripted Movie. This theme continues. Level 3 complete. Oh shit, there we go. Oh, this wasn't even the right video. Sorry. Phoenix Leftist, thanks for 300 bits. Wrong clip. How about this lady? This was recommended. Halloween Town, you recommended this person.
Good morning, everybody. This is Margaret with Alabama Prepper. I do hope everybody's having a good day. It is Sunday. It's cloudy here. We're predicted to get some rain. So we're having a 50th surprise birthday party for my oldest son today. So I'm trying to get ready for that. So I just wanted to do a little video for you today. Thank you for all my subscribers, all my new subscribers, and all the wonderful comments. I do appreciate it so much. Everybody is talking this week about the trial that everybody's calling it the fraud trial, but anyhow.
Everybody's saying, so disappointed Cindy Brady grew up this way.
Where
Mike taught her better than this.
Trump had his trial and they claimed they found him guilty on 34 counts. He is going to plead it and, you know.
Trashomancer, thanks for 101 bits.
I believe that the Lord is in this man. He has got so many prayers going up for him. You know, people are praying. They want our nation back like it was. And right now, our only hope is God and Trump. If you're not for Trump, then you probably don't want to listen to this video. But I do have the freedom of speech, and unless YouTube tells me I can't put it on.
Oh, I feel bad for this lady. Harold Elwman says, you know this one, Hannah, even if you've never heard it said like this, it's called, let's see, it's called Will Hoyt's Law. Conservatism consists of exactly one proposition, to wit, there must be in-groups to whom the law protects but does not bind, alongside out-groups, whom the law binds but does not protect. I have heard that. Jay Rodimus says, I stepped away for a moment and got excited because I thought I heard Gina. Must have forgotten what day it was for a sec. You're not Gina. She gives me Gina vibes a little bit.
I will tell how I feel about it. Our nation is so, our nation has just forgot about God. They have took God out of everything they've took it out. It is just unbelievable. And what's so bad, we as American people,
Prep is something. Lots of guns, I'm guessing.
we have just let it go and let it go.
Let it go. No, pretty loose with my singing. I don't think I should fuck with the mouse, not on one of their most popular songs. What I saw at Walmart is getting worse is her most popular video. Minute left on the hype train.
Did you notice that even though they found Trump guilty, there was no rioting, there was no buildings burnt, there was no protesting? Why? Because the people that's following Trump are God people. They're God.
Again, why are they pretending January 6th didn't happen? Because it's devastating to their case. I know why. It's just ridiculous.
God's people. You know, we didn't get out and protest and burn buildings down and, you know.
Yeah, that's true. They are also doxing the jurors.
Go start.
Lennon Cat with 40 bits says, whenever I see old people who are so worried like this about politics, it makes me mad at the GOP machine. They've spent so long instilling fear and lies into their voters. Oh yeah, it's disgusting.
Raving mad. Because why? We know that God is in control of this. I believe everything that they have tried to do to Trump has failed. I also believe they got something else going on, because I heard last week that 2 of the judges, and I cannot remember if it was the Supreme Court or if it, but anyhow, 3 judges has done excused themselves from whatever is up next because they don't want any part of it. Don't know what it is yet, but it's coming. We'll be surprised after this trial is over with. There's got to be something else to try to bring Trump down. These last 4 years that Joe Biden has been, let me back up. These last 4 years that the president we have now, him and his people that he's got working for him up there, have spent more money and more time trying to find something on Trump that will get him out of this president race. Let me tell you, God is stronger, and I believe if as many praying people as there is, God's got control of this. I'm not worried about it. If Trump don't win, I won't vote for a president, because we don't have a president. Our world is in the biggest mess right now, everywhere.
We need to watch Margaret more. She's got some crazy conspiracies. She's interesting. I find conspiracy theorists interesting when they're not actively malicious. And don't get me wrong, I think she's probably dangerous and definitely wrong about things. But mostly she seems motivated by fear and like a misapprehension of how the world is, probably due to the media that she intakes. I don't know. Really fascinating.
You know, we have got to get somebody back in there to take our nation back. 4 more years, there won't be anything here. Nothing compared. You know, the United States has had so many people backing them and helping.
I do kind of wish Trump would go to jail, because each of, I think, his charges come with like a potential 4 years. And I think it'd just be funny as that gets read out. People can go, 4 more years, 4 more years. You don't get a lot of opportunities for that kind of joke synchronization with the president going to jail. You just got to take the opportunity, you know? It would be concurrent, not consecutive. I know, but the bit demands you yell 4 more years. So.
Till our enemies is sitting back and laughing at the mess that's made at the White House. But anyhow, like I said, you know, if you're not for Trump, you probably don't want to listen to what I had to say this morning. But I'm praying for him, and I hope most of y'all are praying for him. We got to get a God-believing man back in the courthouse.
We have literally never had a non-Christian president, at least in terms of their self-professed beliefs. Anyone who's like, we need a godly president. There has literally never not been a president who was self-identified as Christian. Stop it. Get some help.
Our Constitution was built on God.
Fuck off. It was not, bitch.
Wasn't built on man. So I hope most of y'all, you know, are Trump supporters. I am. And also, if you didn't hear, in 24 hours after they found him guilty, his people raised $52.8 million for him. $52.8 million. Now, that was what was said on Thursday. I don't know how much it is now. But pray, people, because I tell you, if something don't change next year, by next year, we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
Are you even going to be alive next year? Why do you care? Why are you actively ruining the future of your children and grandchildren because you watch too much Fox News?
I hope you all have a wonderful day. This is a short video. I'm trying to get ready for dinner. Like I say, we're having a 50th birthday party for my oldest son. He'll be 50 years old. Been a rough week trying to keep everything surprised, you know, where he doesn't know it. But anyhow, I just...
Her oldest son is 50.
Want to come over here and talk?
How old is she? She either looks good for her age or had a kid very young.
A little bit. If I've offended you, I'm sorry, but I am a Republican, and Trump is going to be my president. Whether he wins or not, he will be.
This lady bought a house with her husband at like age 16 for $5 and doesn't understand why her grandchildren struggle, probably. Why don't you just go to college on a part-time job like your grandpapa did? He worked part-time at the plant and made enough money to get a master's degree while working at the plant for $30 an hour in 1965. Ugh.
What's up, everybody? Derek Johnson here, known as Rattletrap 1776.
I also like silly hats, so I feel a connection to this guy.
I used to have a TikTok that had 34,000 followers and growing rapidly, had 18 million hashtags with my name and my nickname, so Derek Johnson Country, and Rattletrap 1776. I'm known for 2 Billboard hits in country music, and now I have 2 bestsellers books in less than 5 months time period. So The Midnight Rider Rides Again, and also my new book became a bestseller within 2 days, The Royal Flush of Country Music, where I expose all the country music, how the dirty secrets work, how to bypass major record labels and go straight to the top of Billboard Country Airplay. But I know everybody this week, if you're a patriot, if you're a President Trump supporter, a lot of people panicked and freaked out, but all these trials are a judicial cleanout. You have to understand what's going on. The last 7.5 years, you've been under a military occupation.
You've been under a military occupation for 7.5 years. You'd think I would have noticed, the guys with guns.
And a continuity of operations plan. Those are always your canopy. You can't live life every day. You do in your own personal way, but you can't politically. You always have to go back to when the laws and the orders were put into place and established of what's going on right now.
Which laws? Laws weren't all put in place at the same time.
Everybody's watching a military occupation and a continuity of operations plan. Those two were set up by this. The continuity of operations plan was invoked, and the operational dates of those are 2018 to 2022 and 2020 to 2024. See the overlap? So Federal Continuity Directive 1 was issued January 17, 2017. Federal Continuity Directive 2 was issued June 13, 2017. All right, in bullet point 3 of both of those, it says specifically that those on those dates supersede anything before those. All right, and then the operational dates of those were invoked, and they're in the Federal Register.gov. 2018 to 2022 for the first one, 2020 to 2024 for the second one. What year are we in? So that solves that. There's been 10 publications put out under those all the way up to December, this past December 2023. If Joe Biden was president, why doesn't he have a single law, a bill, act, or anything in one of those? So
You think Biden hasn't signed anything? He has. He's done executive orders and signed laws or bills into law. What are you talking about?
from 2021 that they've shown Biden as a visual president to the whole world, he does not have one single piece of legislation in any single federal continuity directive, continuity of operations plan, continuity of government. Not one. All right, then you got to go back for the military occupation. That's proven by the capitulation tour that President Trump went on from 2017 to 2019. North Korea, first foreign leader in the forbidden city of China, and over 500
Did I see Trump's upset no jury ever smiled at him? It's the first or second clip. Let me look. Hold on.
All right, let's get to our top story on this second hour of Morning Joe. Donald Trump is again suggesting his political opponent, Secretary of State Hillary
Teresa, couldn't get a fair trial here.
with the verdict against him.
Mother Teresa couldn't get a fair trial here. I said that. And no, you couldn't. I never saw a glimmer of a smile from the jury.
They're the jury.
Was a trial that everybody said shouldn't have been brought, including...
Everybody said it. No, they didn't. People you like said that. We get it. That's not everybody. I hate how he talks. He talks like an idiot for idiots. It's so frustrating.
Bragg didn't want to bring it. Nobody wanted to bring it until I decided to run, and then was beating everybody by a lot, and then was beating Biden by a lot in the polls. But, you know, it's a very terrible thing. It's a terrible precedent for our country. Does that mean the next president...
This filler says, I intentionally smile at people, but I wouldn't smile at a defendant I'm supposed to determine the guilt of. That's weird, right? You all know me well enough parasocially through this show. You know I'm a silly person and I don't take anything seriously. If I was on a jury, I would take it seriously. Like, come on. There are very few things in life I would take seriously. That's one of them. In particular, if it was with a former president as the defendant.
President does it to them. That's really the question. Wouldn't it be terrible to throw the president's wife and the former Secretary of State? Think of it. The former Secretary of State, but the president's wife into jail. Wouldn't that be a terrible thing?
I mean, if the president's wife committed crime...
plus years. Then you
very weird.
You had India. You had him walking in front of the Queen. You had him going to Saudi Arabia.
Hill Wanderer, thank you for following.
Yeah, the sword dance. All those things were a capitulation. All those nations capitulated. That's chapter 12 of the Law of War Manual. You got to go read that.
At the moment they found out about your stream, you'd be dismissed from the jury pool. Oh, absolutely. I'm just saying, if I somehow found myself in that jury.
How do you prove it even more so? In speeches from 2022 all the way up, he says things like this. Remember Angela Merkel, who was the Chancellor of Germany? Remember Angela Merkel? I gave her the white flag of surrender. All right, well, it's a white flag of truce, which is also in chapter 12 of the Law of War Manual. So what you're seeing right now, President Trump is doing he did a legislative...
Black's Law Dictionary request. Curreal, what do you want me to look up?
Clean out. They did an executive branch clean out, and now they're doing a judicial clean out. Those are your three branches of government. About 68% of America can't even name the three branches of government, so no wonder they don't know what's going on. So when everybody saw the verdict this week...
Can I check for jury? Sure.
Majority of patriots and also Trump supporters either jumped ship or they're focusing too much on stuff they're not supposed to be focused on. You can't support the man if you don't know his own laws and orders that he put into place. I really don't know what people think that the president's role is if you're not going to support and know what the man put into place. All right, because of this right here. Executive Order 13848 is an executive order with a national emergency.
Jury, a certain number of men and women selected according to law and sworn to inquire of certain matters of fact and declare the truth upon evidence to be laid before them. This definition embraces the various subdivisions of juries as grand jury, petite jury, common jury, special jury, coroner's jury, sheriff's jury. A jury is a body of persons temporarily selected from the citizens of a particular district and invested with power to present or indict a person for a public offense or to try a question of fact. See also trier of fact.
Inside that order, signed September 12, 2018, first thing you got to realize is that President Trump signed that and declared a national emergency 2 months before any election under his visual presidency. All right, that means the only evidence of election interference they would have had was 2016 and prior. All right, because it was signed 2 months before any election under his visual presidency, which would have been November 2018 and November 2020. All right, so you got to keep that in mind. Inside that order, it has one line in there. It says, although no foreign power has altered the outcome or vote tabulation. Well, that cancels mine and your vote, and it also cancels out what happened January the 6th, 2021.
What?
Because you got to know what vote tabulation means. What they're saying is the deep state has always altered the votes.
There's no deep state. Doesn't exist. Not a real thing.
Throughout all of our voting history, when we started using Dominion systems and things like that.
Every state's different. Do you think every state uses Dominion voting machines?
And probably before then. But especially with computers.
Which are fine, by the way.
Systems.
There's never been any evidence that they've been tampered with in any way.
No foreign power has altered the outcome, mine and you, or vote tabulation. Vote tabulation is 3 United States Code, Chapter 15. All right, go look that up. What happened on January 6th was already monumental. You heard 2 objections in the Arizona count. Because that's the day that they count the state electoral college votes. All right, so there were 2 objections in the state of Arizona. They were supposed to hit the gavel, stop the count, go into a special chamber until they worked out what happened with those 2 objections. That did not happen. Conveniently, the
What do you mean go into a room? They're in the chambers already. They don't go into a secret room.
Insurrection took place. And conveniently, when the dust settled, they came back in. They never went through what happened with Arizona. They went all the way from Arizona to Wyoming and solidified the votes, which broke 18 United States Code, Section 2381, 2384, and 2385.
It did not.
2385, and also 52 United States Code, 20511. All right, so here's how you solve this. All right, the Democrats right now, they put out a poll. CNN put out a poll, and all the what we call left-wing media put out a poll that 75% of Democratic voters do not want Biden as the choice. So why would...
Yeah, but he is nonetheless the incumbent, and that's how the system works, so...
The Democratic National...
Generally. There's not really a rule that says he has to be, but generally they are.
National Convention ride with Biden the whole time, if this was not an occupation and an operation already planned. Laws and orders show it does. Extensive laws and orders, which made this book a #1 bestseller, shows all the laws and orders chronologically.
I like that just from him flipping through it, you could tell it's something he self-published on Amazon.
No one's debunked them because you can't. They're all in a chronological order.
No one's debunked my random self-published Amazon book. That means I'm right.
And they've all been validated. Daily, weekly, monthly. I keep being validated. If the Democrats wanted to get rid of President Trump, you wouldn't need a trial with a civil kind of issue with a hooker, all right? Because right now, if the Democrats wanted to get rid of President Trump, they could invoke the 25th Amendment on him right this moment. And here's how. In the last 5 months, he has met with 4 foreign leaders, Hungarian leader, Japanese leader, Polish leader, and Swedish. All right. That is a violation of federal law if he was a former president.
No, it's not. What are you talking about? Former presidents can go and meet other people. If he was doing so in an official capacity and claiming to represent the interests of the United States government, sure. But no, just going and meeting other foreign dignitaries as a former president is not illegal.
That's in 18 United States Code, Section 953, which is also the Logan Act. That is a federal law. Private correspondence with foreign leaders. If the Democrats wanted to get rid of former President Trump, where he could not run again, they could invoke the 25th on him right now for that. So why would they leave him in the game in civil courts?
Almost like it isn't a giant evil plan and Trump just actually is guilty of crime.
Because he's not a former president. You're watching a military occupation, and you got to understand what that is.
Mellowfire, thanks for a 10-stream streak, says Dirty Swedes.
And a continuity of operations, and you got to understand what that is. Then you got to...
Yeah, 25th Amendment is removing a sitting president, so...
Understand, those are your canopies, and then you got to go read all the laws and orders up under that were put into place that outlines what an occupation is and what an operations is. All right?
Thank you, Dillis Filler.
The other thing that puts icing on the cake is Q. Q is a clearance, first off, for the Department of Energy. But on the Q alerts, it tells you right there, there's no step 5. Q post tells you, no step 5. Q is a clearance, remember that. No step 5. There's 4 trials. What are the odds of that? All right.
Pretty high? We're talking single-digit numbers, so 1 in 9?
All right, the only tweet that President Trump has gone over and put on Twitter, his last tweet before then was January 2021. All right, the last tweet and the only tweet he's put up...
I didn't catch the name of his book. If it comes up again, I'll let you know.
...was August 2023. And when you read it, it spells out vertically, it spells END, E-N-D. Election interference, never surrender, DonaldJTrump.com. All right, END, never surrender. All right, what has he been quoting recently? Never surrender. He's been quoting
Galaxy Quest.
Election interference. What is election interference? Executive Order 13848. Why would Joe Biden extend an order 3 years in a row called election interference, which would damn his whole administration?
Because it doesn't damn his administration, because he's never engaged in any sort of vote manipulation.
It's all outlined in laws and orders. Go check it out.
Wow, that was certainly something. He's got a lot of confidence for the hat he's wearing, if I'm being honest. Don't think he's earned it, but gonna do what you're gonna do. I don't even know if this is on theme, but it was the chair guy we've seen before, and I love chair guy. He's just wild.
Let's talk a little bit about the fact that you are a pilot. You're not a commercial pilot, but you are a pilot, and you talk eloquently about the flat earth, obviously.
I'm not sure what his channel was. That was actually a mirror. It wasn't on his actual channel. Someone else posted it.
There's a lot of people that believe in the flat earth, and I got to be completely honest with you. I will confess. I have talked to pilots both on camera and off camera. And some of the pilots off camera, when there's nobody around, they're willing to tell you some truths, not completely, totally, but enough to get you to scratch your head and saying, wait a minute, maybe Pascal is right. Maybe this guy's right. Maybe that person is right, etc. So let's talk a little. So my questions are very simple. If we're spinning, this way at 4,800 miles an hour, and we're going this way at 600 miles an hour, we're moving at 5,400 miles an hour. Shouldn't we be able to get from point A to point B very quickly? It's a very logical question. Okay. So when the cameras are on, they say, oh, it's got to do with gravity. Bullshit. No, don't give me that bullshit story about gravity. Let's talk real numbers. You're moving at 50, 4,800. You're flying at 600, 5,400 miles an hour. You should be able to go from New York to Los Angeles in 17 and a half minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just flat earth. I'll save this for another day. I do miss Chairman, though. Is this hat guy again? Hold on. Or is this a different guy in a hat?
All right, welcome back to the Sovereign Soul Show, you divine lions and lioness. I'm your host, Brad Wozni. You know we stand for love, levity, liberty. Because after all, love is the greatest power in the universe. It comes from God, our sound of uniform love. That's our soul. And this is the Bling Buddha. Firing red pills from his 9mm with a Punisher tattoo over his left breast, symbolizing save the children. Many of you know this amazing face of this amazing man who is a 2-time best-selling author now with the launch of his brand new book, Derek Johnson, Rattle Trap 1776. And as Derek and I were chatting in the pre-chat about, you know, the exposure we've had through our separate lifetimes to lead us up until then, many of you may have either forgotten if you're in the audience or if you're brand new in the audience now. You know, I served my country at a federal level, which I thought was a country then in the 1990s, but it turns out to be Canada Crown Corporation incorporated in District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., headquartered on Pennsylvania Avenue at the Canadian Embassy.
Oh, this is some sovereign citizen shit.
But I served it. There I am in my first Remembrance Day in uniform in 1997 in the light infantry. Before that, I was with my lovely grandmother at the very top of the screen, Nana, who fled Nazi-occupied Europe and came over here and had 4 children. One of those happened to be my mother. And then also I have served at the provincial level as a wildfire fighter.
It is the Sovereign Soul Show. I guess I should have known.
Had many red pill moments over the course of that. And for people who aren't aware, and we know some people are still stuck on the fact that they don't know that 9/11 was an inside job. Well, I happen to be at the Pentagon and also probably the only one out of anybody we have interviewed and had on all the shows, including Michael Jaco and I have had 9/11 show together, and Colonel Chuck Sellers, where I've been just days after they dropped the World Trade Center towers, all 3 of them. They dropped them. I was down there as rescue efforts went on because we could still identify where people were and triangulate them under the rubble with the company that I was with. And then just hours later, I was up at the Pentagon and 18 stories below it, and we have it on record. And that was a photo, everybody, at the lectern, who we thought was Donald Rumsfeld. So I got to attend one of the press conferences, standing at the back. And then I was up at that lectern and we took pictures like BlackBerry. How amazing is it? We are part of helping keep the structure of the United States together by rolling out BlackBerry and the continuity of government. And that's where I first heard about it in 2001 in September. Continuity of government. And it was called the E911 initiative to roll out BlackBerry because it was the only network that never went down. And so just shortly after taking this picture, which was taken 12 minutes after Rumsfeld left the room, like, whoa, that's amazing. The Secretary of Defense, and I was cleared to go into the Pentagon, and 18 stories below it, we have on BlackBerry rim service, of course, Trump said we have it all. We have the fact that it was missile strikes also recorded going back and forth, and those who we have lost there. And one of the things I really appreciate with Derek, we met just very shortly after his rant video in August 2022, as we traveled a large part of the United States together on the Truth Tour. And I had mentioned this to him several times. You know, what Derek has provided to me in 2022 was consolation at what was going on against humanity. There was literally a plan in the background because it was known from the white hats all along. Now, almost 500 shows now later to where we are at this point in time.
500 episodes of this.
The Sovereign Soul Show.
Sounds mind-numbing.
Even though we're still going through some drastic issues, finance systems collapsing, suck your soul, time, energy, and money. That's the cabal system. We also have massive increases in death. Approximately 1 billion people approximately have been reported dead from the last 4 years of what they brought through, not just with the bioweapons, but also the COVID lockdowns, as well as the kids who have blown their brains out. 11-year-old did that on Zoom classroom in California in Orange County.
Don't use a child's mental health situation to fucking push your conspiracies, you sick bitch.
2 years ago. So roughly 1 billion. But the thing is, though, we all know what they did when they dropped the towers in 9/11. This was part of a plan. Even the prior
I swear this gets into Trump. It does.
Heirs of Zion, Mark Atwood has said hundreds of years ago, written that the Khazarian mafia put together, which
That's anti-Semitism. You ever hear Khazarian mafia? It's anti-Semitism. They mean Jews.
are from the bloodlines of Cain, which are Satan's spawn, the devil, that they wanted to enslave the entire world. And other good men and women behind the scenes stood up and crafted a plan to go against it, because where we go one, we go all. Is galactic. Derek, welcome back to the show for this one-on-one, brother. And A Midnight Rider is the book we're referring to, where Derek has literally
The Midnight Rider is the name of the book.
documented, taken everything from the documents.info.
It's also my porn star name. Hi everyone, I'm the Midnight Rider.
And put it into an easy-to-read, digestible information, including with pictures, before and after and current events, why it's going on right now. So not only can we wake up the world, we can save more, including the generations to come who are on the TikTok and their phones, and they don't have mental breakdown and psychosis. Cover a lot, including this being a spiritual warfare for our souls. Welcome back, brother. It's an honor to have you.
Appreciate that. It's good to be here as always. So definitely appreciate it. So
yeah, definitely. We were
I like that he went on for 6 minutes, just verbal diarrhea, and this guy's like, hey, what's up? Yep. That was it.
We were chatting about the white hat plan, and people, calling folks conspiracy theorists, years ago, about Q News and the Q drops and the Q alerts.
Yes, you are a conspiracy theorist.
We're actually seeing this play out, and toward the end of the book, Midnight Rider, everybody can buy the book, whether it's on Amazon, 2-time best-selling author right now, plus his book on exposing the country music industry, because he's had 2 top 40 Billboard hits on his own, not represented by any label. So this is a man who does a deep dive, figures it around, probably because of his MBA, or the other one, probably because you're just a great.
You ever wonder how right-wing people are constantly like, best-selling book or Billboard artist or whatever? There's so many lists these days. If you're in a very small niche sub-market, you can get on a best of list or a best-selling list because you're a medium fish in a small pond. So usually you'll end up like a bestseller in the realm of like right-wing political stuff that week, and that's a best-selling book. Or like on, a lot of times they'll use iTunes or something, and they'll be like, the #1 Christian rap album in this week, like it's smaller ponds, so it's easier to get accolades, for lack of a better word. Doesn't really matter, it is what it is, but just if you're ever wondering about that, that's how.
Grifter, because you've only been to Mar-a-Lago 7 times. You've only had lunches and dinner with Commander-in-Chief Trump like 8 or 9 times. Yeah, greatest grifter in the world right here, everybody, who has a book deal signed at the Commander-in-Chief Trump's chair, right? And let's remember,
he's claimed to have met Trump many times, apparently.
Remember, 180 IQ, multi-billionaire. Why would he leave it all, donate the salary as a president in his first term, and he wouldn't screw up a comma, 45, 47, 45-47 is what they keep putting out there, including all the news now coming out acknowledging it. So tell us, Ben, tell us what's going on right now. Give us, I'm just kidding. We know what's going on, but what do you usually get, brother, from where we are just in the last 2 weeks of what's been going on? Because at the end you talk about Israel, Hamas. We've seen the Q News drops. Save Israel for last. And on our recent show with Lieutenant Colonel Ricardo Bosi and Colonel Sellers and Bishop Jim O'Connor and Abby, went, yeah, they already wrote that in 2019. Why don't we start?
That's the biggest thing, is like, it's like you get to honor what happened to me. I get to sit in a position and I get to honor people that paved the way for you and I, especially some of the guys we know. And then there's a lot of guys that you and I know that aren't a face yet, because a lot of them are still active. They're still in play. And it's a warrior ethos, right? We were talking about that earlier.
You know who he reminds me of? This is going to sound so random. He reminds me of the Dinkster.
Somebody ring the Dinkster!
Am I crazy?
Stinky winks!
Somebody ring the Dinkster!
I think he's he's a little Dinkster. Excuse you, this clip is from Spy Kids 3. He first appeared in Spy Kids 2 as the owner of the theme park.
Somebody ring the Dinkster!
Oh. Anyway.
Aware. There's certain things you can't do.
You miss Bill Paxton? Me too.
As
You seen Brain Dead? Watch Brain Dead. Good movie. That has Paxton and Pullman.
a veteran, especially with your oath, and then also knowing who's at risk, what's at risk.
You're gonna try to talk to me about Spy Kids 3D Game Over? I literally have my Spy Kids 3D Game Over 3D glasses right here. Don't you dare question my Spy Kids cred again. You will be banned from chat forever.
What's at play, what's in play, because it is an operation.
How many versions of that clip are there? Oh, a lot. Literally, there's a channel that just did this every day for like a really long time. Are they still doing it? Yeah, they're still doing it. Once a week or something, they'll post a fucking new Dinkster. Sometimes they're different. Most of the time, it's just the same exact clip. Sometimes it's different, though. Like, here was the one for the 666th one they did.
Somebody ring the Dinkster! 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 Dinkster!
I mean, they posted two weeks ago. Oh, this was the last one. They must have just finished. Okay.
Somebody ring the Dinkster!
Oh, we went to the place.
Somebody ring the Dinkster. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for 8,000. Thank you for 3,000 Dinksters. Bye.
Thank you for 3,000 Dinksters.
Hey, yo, Dinkster here. Oh, Dinkster!
Sorry, now I'm just on the Dinkster shit now.
Somebody ring the Dinkster!
You so fucking precious when you smile.
Okay. I'm focused. We're
It's
good.
clearly outlined to the level of which, if you're interested, you can know. Will it tell you what missions they're exactly doing? No, but you've never known that. And then it depends on what the mission is. Is it something that you and I can assess if we can see it in live, and then but we would still
Juggle.
never give up certain things. But we get to honor.
Did somebody ring the Dinkster?
All those, especially back here. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting to honor my grandfather, my great uncles, their buddies. And so when you look at World War II, I talk about it all the time, World War II history, two different points to bring in. Laws and orders read perfect on paper. They read perfect on paper, all right? But it's what people are doing with them. And like you were talking about earlier, and then we were talking in the pre-show, but then also bringing in this plan that the evil had. You know, you always got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, if good have a plan and a strategy, there's resistance somewhere
agree.
always.
Yeah.
We have it in our daily life. We have it. We've experienced. Everybody's experienced somebody that you didn't get along with. You just, for no matter what it was, you couldn't get along with them. Now, that don't mean they're bad or evil.
Overthought, thanks for gifting a sub to the Dingster.
It depends, but some people just keep trying to.
Somebody
You know,
ring
like
the
two
Dingster.
Rams, we see them up in Colorado a lot. You see them out there, and they'll square off.
Yeah.
What are they accomplishing? They never kill each other. They just get there and just to ram each other in the head. And you're just like, what are y'all doing? You know, so, but then there's cases in history that we've seen.
Okay, I'm sorry, Discount Dingster isn't doing it for me. He just talks too gosh darn slow for me. Did somebody ring the Dingster? That didn't work. Let me try again. No.
What's going on, everybody? This is Patriot Underground here. Now, before we start the show, I just want to say a quick word on behalf of my sponsors over at switch-stores.com/Patriot Underground. Now, I partnered with this company over 2 years ago because I recognized how important it was to reallocate my financial resources with my spiritual and my political values, and do business with a company that is competing directly against the cabal-owned and controlled corporations that
the shilling of gold and shit is so funny.
Only provide you the illusion of choice. And when I made that decision, it was one of the best I've ever made. First of all, these products are super high quality. They're made in America with amazing ingredients, shipped directly to your door at very competitive prices. But more importantly, folks, I feel good knowing that I don't have to walk into a Target or a Walmart or any of these big box stores that are owned by people that genuinely hate me and my family and want to do everything that they can to try to bring down this movement that we are spearheading together. This is a no-brainer for every single patriot out there, folks. This is money that you're going to spend anyway. You might as well spend it with the good guys.
The good guys.
Click that link.
We're the good guys, fellas. Trust us. Give us your money. Spend twice as much money on worse products to own the libs.
In the description, again, switch-stores.com/Patriot Underground. I promise you, you will not be disappointed with the quality of these products, and you'll sleep better at night knowing that your money is being spent with a company that stands shoulder to shoulder with each and every one of us in this war against the cabal. All right, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the show. God bless and Godspeed. Patriot out. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriot Underground. Today is May 31st, 2024. Thank you so much for joining me, folks, to discover the truth beneath the surface. As always, I really do appreciate everybody out there taking the time to listen, and today it is my great honor to welcome my good friend, Dr. Scott Young, back to the show. He's certainly no stranger to this audience. He's no stranger to the Patriot community. This man is an expert in Nasara and Jasara. He authored the book. You can actually see it.
How are you an expert in a thing that's not real?
On your screen there, Revelations of the Red Pill, and he's authored some other ones as well. He's a man of immense knowledge, and it really is an honor to have you back, Scott. How have you been doing?
Doing good. You know, you said, seeing the truth beneath the surface. Sometimes you feel like, we're like underneath the water and, and you kind of get your nose underwater. And I was never a good swimmer. So like I can barely dog paddle. So like that's how a lot of us feel. And I think what I love about you, and we were talking about this before, and you guys don't know, but what I love about you is this is a balance point. Okay. Does Patriot Underground have all the information point? No. Does Scott? No. If Scott can be wrong on something, yeah. And because what we're looking forward to as a future, like for instance, when I was a kid, growing up as a Denver Bronco fan, I would actually pick every single NFL game, and I would have a little piece of paper, and I would pick every game from 77 on. And I actually had a better percentage than Jimmy the Greek at the time. It was funny. But again, that percentage was like I think he was like 75 and I was a 77, and I tracked it. I mean, it was really fun. It was just weird that I was doing this when I was a kid.
Is he just literally boasting about his fantasy baseball acumen as a child?
But realize, that's a pretty darn good average, with that too. So let's calm down, with like, he doesn't get everything right or doesn't understand, So anyway, that's my thing.
Well, yeah, we were having quite a conversation before we.
Would I do a D&D campaign based on one of these conspiracies? If I were to do something, it would probably be a universe where all conspiracies were true. I think that would be a fun setting where, like, almost like that Netflix show that got canceled. Basically, every conspiracy is real within the fiction of the world that the game takes place in. I think that would be fun. Flow Artifact Armory, thanks for a $2 super chat.
We started recording some of this stuff we may touch upon during the episode today. Some of this stuff is really just, private conversation.
Oh yeah, we are at the top of the last hour, so one more call to action before whatever. I'm trying to be professional and structured. It's not my thing, but here we go. If you want, you can donate to Costume Month number 2 using the tip link. You can join the Patreon if you want to help support the channel at patreon.com/HannahReloaded. Gift subs and bits always help. There you go. Consider your action called to.
Between Dr. Scott and I, but yes, I absolutely agree. I mean, I say this all the time, nobody has a monopoly on the truth. And there are certainly...
Chill for yourself, Hannah. It could be worse. I could be trying to sell you gold-backed IRAs or something.
Individuals in the movement that have a lot of information and knowledge in certain areas. But that's the whole reason why we're coming together and having these conversations, right? And I've always been an outsider. I'm actually proud of the fact that I've been an outsider all along. And it's funny to me,
very proud of the fact that no one likes me.
We'll move on quickly, but I think it's kind of funny that, from day one, I told people that I'm just an ordinary American. I'm just like all of you. I source my information from the same places, and I research and I present you with my analysis. And I'm not here to deceive anyone. And what's amazing to me is that so many people have a tough time even believing that. I mean, it'd be one thing if I tried to misrepresent who I was and say, oh, I'm just, super special, military, expert, or I'm some intel guy. Then, it would make sense for people to scratch their head and say, I don't know
Wait
about
a second.
But I'm telling you that I'm not, and people still don't want to believe it. Some people, it's incredible. But yeah, I mean, I think the spirit of our conversations, and really all of my conversations with my guests, the people that I really value in this movement, are, along those lines, that we come together.
We get it. You like each other. Talk about the Trump thing.
I cast a wide net, and that's just how I do things.
But don't be like despondent. Okay. That's the difference. This actually is exciting because I know we are frickin' close. I was supposed to be on with Mark Z last night.
This thing might be devastating to Trump. However, this sounds so much like the GME and Bed Bath & Beyond apes. The people who are like, we're really must be getting close to winning because we're losing so bad. This counterintuitive idea that the worse you're doing, the more desperate the enemy must be.
And he had to cancel it because he goes, man, we need to talk about this. And I could see how he was like, treading water on that conversation with that too. And that's what he spent most of the time on. It's totally cool. And I sent him like the PowerPoint I was going to do for him. And I'm like, dude, we need to do this probably earlier next Thursday night. And, so that's cool. But here's what I would say. Number one, and I'm going to use this as a kind of a global point. And this is where Patriot Underground and I kind of get off on. The Nasara piece isn't just money, okay? If you think it's all money, then what would happen is if, like, whether you have, a viewpoint of UBI or not UBI, or debt forgiveness or not debt forgiveness, or pick any whatever financial term, what happens is if it comes through, and by the way, there's a bunch of these people in the RV movement that kind of say, oh, the IRS, you're going to have to pay your IRS thing, or you're going to have to do this. Or I'm like going, okay, you understand. If they did a gold-backed currency, so we'll just say something that like almost all of us actually agree with, right?
Sorry, I'm going to try and find the Trump stuff. The title is about the Trump stuff. Apparently it takes them forever to
then
get
it
there.
becomes a little bit less, but
He gonna bust. Bustin' makes me feel good.
but with more information. And so they counterbalance how much dollars versus how much.
Yeah, the core of the issue is having the right people in government.
Right.
And that's
Did he say inner-stand? He might. That's a pretty common woo-woo thing they say these days. I've heard overstand and inner-stand.
Sarah is going to do. Well, I mean, it so often gets associated just with, with money and debt
money,
forgiveness
right.
and the IRS. But, this is something that you actually talk about quite a bit. Of all the people out there who are talking about Nassar, or, I guess you could say that's their wheelhouse or their.
So that's part
It's literally just a Q post.
No, we've had
Trump, and there wasn't going to be
Baltimore, I think it was, and talking about that woman won. So what I'm saying is that you, with Nassara, you have to deal with this. What's going on right
Cassifel with a link. See what this is.
right now? He is taking on the court systems because the courts have to go into a constitutional nature. And I have talked to a couple people and they go, I kind of expected this later on, like they were going to reveal it next week or 2 weeks from now. Why did they reveal it last night? I mean, man, I don't know, but we are dang close. It's exciting for that. And if you tried to arrest, now Derek will do a better job. I can't even do his job, but if you arrest a CIC under false
Commander-in-Chief
charges,
but the charges of Trump aren't false, and he's also not the commander-in-chief.
Boomerangs on the people who arrested him.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. This whole thing is setting up a boomerang. That's, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, and Dave on News Treason actually did a show last night, and he was talking about the same basic idea. It's kind of that everything that the deep state has done has come back around and boomerang back on them. It's been one big reversal event. So when we have, and you mentioned Derek Johnson as well. I think he put out a post that you shared on Telegram, talking about the way that folks were reacting yesterday in so many ways reveals the foundation that they're standing on right now.
Right.
Like if you really didn't think that this was going to happen, if you really thought that they were going to quit Trump and there wasn't going to be this massive miscarriage of justice, I don't.
Again, it shocks me that there isn't even an ounce of them that's like, maybe he deserved it. Maybe he was guilty. It's just not even a question in their minds. It has to be rigged.
Yeah, really know what you were anticipating.
So strange.
Now, again, we don't know how this is all mapped out, how it's going to go. But, the other thing is there's just so many comms. I mean, why did it happen yesterday? Why the 7-Eleven date? And that's something, actually, you put...
That's the date the jury came to a decision. It's not a big plan. Things just happen. Cassifel says, no, I have paid for it, ergo it must be played. Also, very much every QAnon person when Trump goes to jail and the soap dish tells them the deep state brain dogs will finally erupt from Tartaria and claim the fourth moon of Gondor for the hellspawn of the ninth house of K, so that the age of Aquarius will end, and all shall be well in the mind palace of Relka. Jesus Christ, what is this link gonna be?
I'm at the
You have a very interesting brain, Cassifel.
I think
Speaking of which, tomorrow Cassifel and I are teaming up again. We're going to be talking about our favorite horror movies. It's going to be a pretty open, free-form conversation. I'm sure it's going to be pretty chaotic, so it'll be fun. We'll just talk and look at clips of horror movies and stuff, so hang out for that. Oh, I'm sorry, Cassifel. I read them very well. Lennon Cat says it was a plot by big convenience store. It's the 7-Eleven plot to control us through cheap coffee and salty chips.
Let me pull up
The salty chips thing works on me. It's probably mostly the Spiro, though.
Telegram really quickly, just to show folks in case they haven't seen it. But this was a graphic that you had shared just yesterday with all of the different connections, the comms there with, Chuck Norris tweeting out back on, what was it, July 11th, 2022. And then you had Vincent Kennedy, and there's just like I can't remember what it was exactly because some of these dates are kind of hard to read, but essentially between the elapsed time between the Elon Musk pictures of the picture of 7-Eleven and Vincent Kennedy, it was 5 months, 23 days, which point
they're really trying to connect it to 7-Eleven.
Is to drop 523 checkmate.
Yep.
Yeah, which coordinates with Chuck Norris's Chuckmate, and it just goes on and on from there. I mean,
Chuckmate.
Qanon put out a great
Grayline says because it doesn't matter to them if he's guilty or not because the ends justify the means, so he shouldn't have been convicted.
post talking about the 35-second video that Trump released in the immediate aftermath of this, talking about it being the final battle for America,
right?
And to drop 35, which was of course by Trump himself. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure I have that drop. We can just take a quick peek at it just to show folks what we're talking about.
I think 35 talks also about the EBS too. I mean, isn't it?
Let's go ahead and pull it up. I don't remember if it mentions the EBS specifically, but
I did, but I could be wrong.
Let's go take a look at it here. Well, I think
it does.
Saying that he's going to be insulated on Air Force One while these operations are taking place. So I think we can logically make that inference. It may not mention it directly like drop 34, but this was the very next drop after the one that we just covered.
By the way, they're looking at Q drops from 2017 for hints and like prophecies basically about Trump getting convicted today in 2024.
It mentions the emergency broadcast system. So I think it's intuitive to make that.
It is, and it's on the same day, guys. That actually post is on the same day. Don't think that the Q team wasn't thinking about this.
Yeah. To be clear, this is like what Q people do. Q, I don't even know if Q is still posting, but most of their time is spent looking at years-old Q posts, like their religious doctrine, and trying to find things in it, like Nostradamus, that they can go, this vaguely sounds like an event that happened recently. Q must have been predicting it. Not realizing they're seeing shapes in clouds.
Okay. And so when we talk about the storm, now listen, if you'd listened to me back in 2020, I would never believed that all this...
Their weird fucked up Bible. In fairness, the Bible is also their weird fucked up Bible, so...
stuff would have gone on for this stupid long time frame. Okay, I get it. And yet, keep your faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the promise of things unseen. It's like you walking into a courtroom and you got all...
Has anyone published the Q posts as a book? I don't know. That's probably been self-published at minimum at this point.
Your freaking evidence right in front of you, and there is no way you lose. Now, I know you're going, well, yeah, but he lost. No, did he lose?
Yes, he lost.
And, and the reality...
Sounds like Tim Allen.
Is how come they knew that was going to happen? Why would Trump be in trouble? And why would you be talking about that in 2017? I mean, seriously, it doesn't make any sense.
No. They're not. It's talking vaguely, and you're taking the vague statement and assuming it's talking about this specific instance.
We do know 1 month.
You're being cold read by text. And falling for it.
The day before that was the Saudi Arabian prince shooting, the false flag in Vegas, right? So, people were thinking like at the time frame, like, well, it's got to be related to that. No, we thought in 2020, well, we got to be related to, they'll take him out before the 2020 election. No, I mean, The reality is this is an event-driven issue. It's not a date-driven issue. It's very, very event level.
That's right.
And so what you got to do is be calm, because all of us are struggling with this whole thing. It's affecting every single person. But you know what I'm seeing is huge number of Latino voters who would always be Democrat in their past, a huge number of Black voters, a huge number of sort of middle ground people, and the media won't tell you about this.
Again, this is like the 5th person today I've heard say this. I have not seen this anywhere. I've heard them claim it, haven't seen it.
Which is why they have to be deleted. Because when you...
I think they're all citing each other. I think they're all saying, I've seen this, but what they really mean is they heard other right-wing people say it. So it must be true. They just manufacture reality by saying lies constantly. It's weird.
You hear the real scores of this. California was absolutely won in 2020. Almost every state out there in the union was won. It was as big as Bush Dukakis in 88. It wasn't as big as Reagan in 80, where he was just, sorry, but I use the term, he kicked the ass of Carter in that time frame. I mean, it's the most historic win until I think it was...
It depends, Dillis Filler. The fact that we kind of lump in, like, Hispanic voters is unhelpful depending on what you're talking about, because if you have, like, you're like a first-generation immigrant or second-generation immigrant from Mexico or Guatemala or something, you're going to have very different views than someone whose family came from, like, Cuba. So I don't know. It really depends on what part of the country you're talking about. The term Hispanic is, like, very broad when we're talking about a political demographic.
In the 50s. And yet...
I know we do it all the time, but just saying, it's more nuanced than it appears generally.
This kind of thing is going to come out, and it's not just to put Trump back in at 100% or whatever that, you know, and we always hear about the 4 to 6%ers that won't ever do it. That's probably the number. It's going to be voting for the Biden kind of thing. And no matter what, even after the EBS, they're going to still vote for Biden or write in or whatever. And, you know, and it's just going to be kind of dumb, you know, with that. And there's people who don't want to believe truth. And by the way, we're seeing them every day. But you guys have to, like, as patriots, this is where...
The term patriots has been entirely turned into a creepy shibboleth. You notice that? Not a fan. Here's a video entitled, Why the Trump Conviction is Awesome.
Our boy Donald Trump, the convicted felon. I gotta say, man, I love it. I absolutely love it. And the reason why I love it is because the red line's been crossed. The Rubicon has been crossed. The precedent has been set. Oh, so...
What happened after the Rubicon was crossed again? Did that go really well for the enemies of Caesar?
It's okay to prosecute former presidents and convict them now, huh? Okay, looking at you, Bill Clinton, looking at you, George Bush, looking at you, Barack Obama. But of course, the...
Again, you have crimes. Great, do that.
Difference here is that those New World Order cucks are actually
Old World Order cucks.
Complete criminals and do deserve to get prosecuted for a variety of freaking things. Issue here is that we have such a politicized, weaponized, bullshit judicial system that they get their crimes hidden and they get all this love from the establishment and from the media. So we look at people like Obama and George Bush as these wonderful former presidents and put them on a pedestal.
No, absolutely. Try Bush for war crimes and Obama for lesser ones, for drone strikes. Woo!
And yet media labels orange men bad as being the convicted felon. So
Orange Man is bad.
were you going to vote for a convicted felon in the presidential election? Oh, no! I said, hell yeah, I'm going to vote for a convicted felon in the presidential election. Shit! With our
cool
judicial system, with this Justice Department, heck yeah, vote for a convicted felon. If this is the way they're going to convict him, with bullshit charges over trivial matters that should have been nothing more than a misdemeanor. In fact, it was all, if you actually read the case, which of course the media doesn't want you to, they just want you to hear their narrative about it.
Literally publicly available, anyone can read it.
Trump, really, it was his lawyers that misrepresented the payment, that scuttled the payment, and one of his bullshit lawyers, Michael Cohen, too, right? So it's all bullshit charges. But the reason why I love it is because it is waking people the hell up. We are getting to that precipice. I've been talking to so many people lately. People who you would classify as quote-unquote normies. They're awake and aware. They see what's going on in the media and the government, but they're not like...
I've used the term normies ironically a few times because it's kind of funny, but if you unironically use normies, please touch grass.
Super far on their awakening path, but so many people, so many normies, centrists, moderates, people on the fence, they're seeing what's going on with the justice system, how trash it is, and they feel bad for Trump. I mean, shoot, Trump got how many freaking donations in the first 24 hours after his...
He's got a pretty big fan base of rubes.
Felony conviction.
Felony conviction, correct.
Was breaking records. I think he got more donations in 24 hours than Biden got in a full month. So many people are seeing it. So many people are waking up to it. The media is just failing. They're failing. It's the boomerang, you guys. And really, with this
There's that boomerang the other guy brought up, too. They just repeat the same talking points. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Conviction, what did you expect? Did you expect this trial happening in Washington, D.C., or excuse me, New York, of all places? Did you expect this trial in New York to go any other way? So it's these expectations that get in our heads that let us down. If you don't have these expectations and you really just look at the matter from the big picture, like, yeah, conviction was very highly likely in this instance, granted where the court case was, and then just the red line gets crossed. The boomerang starts coming back around. This basically sealed the deal for Trump's election, for Trump's win in November for the 2024 presidential election. It sealed the deal.
I don't think it sealed it one way or the other. I think everyone needs to go out and fucking vote. Unless you're a Trump supporter, then you can stay home because you think it's all a fraud, so probably just don't.
There's no other way about it. And if Trump actually spends any night in jail, holy shit, it's going down in history already. But man, run his campaign from a jail cell, hell yeah. We'll see if it gets that far. Again, no expectations. I don't think it'll get to Trump ending up in a jail cell, go through appeal and yada yada, but heck, who knows? If it happens, he's just a martyr now. He's a total martyr. The mugshot from the Georgia case, that was cemented in history. That,
I would agree. So was Charles Manson's?
was, I guess, the first...
It's this any publicity is good publicity move.
Stage of martyrdom. And then as it goes on, as every trial goes on, it just sides more and more people with him. Sides more and more people, not just with him, but more importantly, against the establishment. And that's why I love it. Because deep down, part of me is like all for chaos. Because...
woo boy, accelerationism. Don't do an accelerationism. Accelerationism bad.
People, the chaos, getting people's jimmies ruffled is what really wakes them up and spurs action. Gets their passion going, spurs action, gets them to get off their ass and start doing something, or at least talking about it, right? So that's why I love chaos sometimes, is because we can bring order out of that. We know the Illuminati cucks out there, they love
The Illuminati cucks!
order out of chaos, so they create.
The Illuminatis have the best cuck chairs. They have lumbar support. It's genuinely incredible. Would recommend. Penakagami says, I think they're confusing some Republicans being radicalized recently, possibly by the trial, with people waking up. They don't seem to understand how voting works because of how bad their theory of mind is. I've seen a MAGA guy do this too. He posted in response to criticism of Trump how a vote isn't a marriage proposal, it's a chess move, then proceeds to basically say liberals must be a cult because why else would you vote for Biden?
Chaos to bring their particular sense of order from it, but we can do the same thing. We can fight back against that with our own order out of chaos. So when it's chaos like this, we bring a sense of order. We help direct people and get them to see the bigger picture. I mean, if you look at everything from an optical point of view, with it being optics, right? How's this going to look? How is this situation, how is this narrative going to influence the public? We already know the mainstream media, so many people, even people on the left, but right centrist people on the left, even people who are non-political, they know media is garbage. A majority of the public, regardless of their political leanings, knows the media is garbage, knows the government is garbage. So how is this situation, Trump's conviction, going to look from an optics point of view to the mainstream public? You'll get a select percentage of people that are like, oh yeah, Orange Man bad, he deserves to be in prison, oh yeah, respect the process, blah, 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 blah. Sure, but a select, small percentage. The majority, the vast majority are going to see this and go, oh man, that's bullshit.
I don't think that's true. I don't know what the actual demographic split on that is, but the idea that a majority would see this as unjust, I don't think. It'd probably be about a 50-50 split, partisan, to be honest. It's disappointing, but it's probably true.
I'm going to vote for him. Especially a lot of the libertarians. With Trump doing the libertarian event last weekend, and then the Libertarian Party nominating an absolute shitbag cuck rag as their nominee.
Cuck rag? Is that the rag? Okay. Is that the rag that the cuck uses to clean up after themselves, or is this a rag that they use to clean the others up when this is done? Just curious. I'm trying to get specific about our definitions here. I want to know in what way you're insulting them.
Nominee. So many libertarians are like, well, screw it. Trump's our only hope. I don't even like the guy, but I'm going to vote for him anyway, or at least support him anyway. Libertarians, centrist moderates, even some moderate left people are like, I can't do this Biden thing. This is just, it's terrible. It's awful how bad things are getting. I'm voting Trump now.
I knew someone was going to say it, and I wanted to know who it would be. Lady Ann, you win. You said the gross thing. Good job.
So it's going to be an absolute red wave, and that's why I love this Trump conviction, because it hastens the speed in which the boomerang comes back around and hits them right in the head. So, heck yeah, man. Keep it going. Every conviction, every trial just raises his poll numbers another 5%. I don't know, but it's inevitable. And don't be scared, guys. Don't be scared. Although, you know, when I'm out there, I'm not scared, but when I'm out there talking to people in public or strangers or whoever, you know, I understand that influence game. So I tell them and I try to reiterate to them how bad things are getting to get them, you know, out of their
Phyllis Filler says gross. I mean, I'm sure some people are into it. I mean, I didn't say they aren't.
bubble
Something can be gross and you can be into it.
per se. But at the end of the day, I'm not worried. See this conviction, I laugh. I'm like, shit, that's great. It's awesome. Didn't expect it any other way. But at the end of the day, you know, as time goes on, months progress, end of the year, election comes around, it's just going to help. It's just going to freaking help. So, convicted felon running for president. Great. How many unconvicted felons do we have who have already been in government for decades? So many.
I don't see what that has to do with this. The former presidents aren't running. Joe Biden is. Not my first choice, but out of the two we have, yes, he is. Those are the choices we got.
And again, I reiterate the point, precedent set. So, you know, when Trump gets in term 2, when he starts going after them, again, optics game, it's not going to look so bad. If Trump were to start prosecuting these folks, having his attorney general go after people like Hillary Clinton, Obama, all of them, right? If he were to start doing that as soon as he got into office in 2017, then we would have had a shit show of a civil war, agent provocateurs activated, a lot more people who used to believe the mainstream media and all the narratives back then, they would have fell for those, and they would have hated Trump. It would have been a shit show. Trump wouldn't have been able, politically, legitimately, he wouldn't have been able to go after them in 2017. I still see that point promoted around by people. Oh, why did Trump let them get away with it in 2017? Blah, 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 blah. He couldn't. He couldn't from an optics point of view, political point of view, any point of view. He couldn't. We had to go through this long 8-year process of exposing the bullshit in government.
Have you noticed a lot of conspiracy theories are a big runaround to try and justify why everything that has happened was all part of some plan? Even if it's an evil plan, everything turns out to be a justification that someone planned all of this.
Government.
Not how life works.
For the mainstream public, for everybody. We had to go through that so we could get the majority of the people to understand it, not be in denial about it, be aware of it, and then accept when the prosecutions started happening against them, right? Which, Trump term 2, now we will have a majority of the people understanding that there is a reason why we need to investigate and prosecute almost all the Democrats out there, but a good amount of
almost all the Democrats,
Republicans too, right? Not a left or right issue here, but
it's not a left or right issue, but most of them, the vast majority, Democrats, of course. But Kagami says, I'm guessing he doesn't know that libertarian voters were the ones who nominated Chase. It was the leadership that invited Trump. The Massex spelling is a Nazi astroturfing movement that hostiles took over the Libertarian Party, and regular libertarian voters have been kind of pissed about it for years. A majority of libertarians don't like Trump, and Chase will likely pull both Republican and Democrat votes.
But that, my friends, is why these Trump convictions, from one perspective, are a great frickin' thing.
Good luck with that. MH Dark Beast with a link. Super Christian from 1980. Oh no. This like Bible Man, basically. Oh my god, it's the Lone Ranger. Hold on, let me save this for VHS. This old man, he played 10. Saved. Cool. Alright, I think we're done for the day. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Glad to look at more MAGA cope and QAnon stuff with y'all. Like I said, tomorrow we are doing a stream about horror stuff with Cassifel, and as you all know, I'm a big horror fan. I have a lot of my horror collection over here. We're just going to kind of talk about stuff. It'll be good. Crisscross with a $5 super chat says, yeah, the world isn't secretly controlled by anyone. The entire world is the way it is because a 19-year-old got lucky when a car stalled in 1914. Cassifel with a link says, and here it is. As the clock strikes 12, we see time as a flat circle. Oh no, what is this?
Mr. Peterson, when you introduced yourself, you made a point of saying you're pro-life. You would have government ban abortion?
The first thing that I would do is to try and find every non-coercive measure that we can to end abortion, and there are options. Ending the federal war on drugs would allow women to purchase birth control over the counter.
But would you have laws on abortion?
The president has no authority to enact laws on abortion. The Congress writes the law. But we should be morally pro-life.
It's true.
All humans deserve the same right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and we should find every opportunity we can to save lives.
Want to make any points on that?
I think this is where Austin and I disagree, and my apologies, sir. I think that a woman's right to her own body is one of the fundamental issues in this country.
Yeah, this is when McAfee was running for president.
More importantly, I do not think it is the federal government's job or the state government's job to interfere in this process. Thank you.
How can there be a decision more difficult than abortion, and who should be making that decision other than the woman involved? No one.
Gary. Harold Edelman says, can you give me a quick old-timey rant on cuck chairs, i.e. in my day, we didn't have chairs for the cuck. You just stood there and took your cucking. I can try? That seems a very random request, but I can try. Back in my day, you know, you lazy millennials with your cuck chairs sitting in it, jerking your little millennial wiener. You know, back in my day, we had to stand there. We had to walk to the motel uphill both ways. And when we got there was no lube. You just had to spit. And boy howdy, we did not have enough potable water to have a lot of spit. It was a rare resource, let me tell you. So I'm standing there in the corner, and this bull's going to town on your grandma. And let me tell you, my hands were like sandpaper from working the fields. There you go. Is that it? Is that a thing? Here you go.
All right, lightning round. Do you support the...
You found the wrong one? Save it then. Because let's see who we're going to do a raid on. Thanks everyone for hanging out. If you like the stream and you're not already, give me a follow. Like it, share it, do tips if you want to help keep the show going. That's about it. Let's see who we're rating.
I look adorable, thank you. I'm trying my best. It's an Ann Taylor shirt. It's an Ann Taylor jacket.
All right. Good night, everyone. See you later.
Baby.
See you tomorrow for our thing with Cassifel. Should be fun. Adios. Love you, Mr. Blast. Bye, everyone.